What is the best anime of all time? No, seriously, I'm asking you. I've never been much of the anime watching type. Aside from the occasional Pokemon X and Y here and there as a kid, I steered clear of it. Well, I also had this Inuyasha DVD I really liked. I don't even know why I have this. As a kid, I kinda grew up being taught that anime was cringe and evil and gay, when in reality, only 2 of those are true. Which ones are up to your own interpretation. But like, to be fair, anime doesn't lend itself any favors too often. Just take a look at the amount of harem anime and tell me my dislike wasn't warranted. Just another point for America, baby! But all that to say that I'm not very knowledgeable about anime in any capacity. You wanna know how many total anime I've watched in my life?
5.
And that's where our old pal Konosuba comes in. See, over the past few years, I've been hearing a bit about this show. Apparently, it's supposed to be good. Really good. In fact, it's not uncommon that someone considers Konosuba the best isekai anime of all time. But wait, what exactly is an isekai? Okay, geez, fine, I'll explain. An isekai anime, or otherworld anime, is a popular subgenre where a regular person from Earth is magically sent to a new world and has to find a way to survive, with more often than not, these new worlds being vastly different from our world. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a cool-ass plot for a show. And it turns out tons of other people thought that too, because the isekai genre has now become insanely oversaturated. With a concept like this, you'd think there'd be hundreds, if not thousands, of completely unique show ideas to create. And you're right, Reborn as a Vending Machine is a banger. Despite the limitless possibilities of isekai animes, the subgenre has seen countless retreads of the same shit over and over again. It's always just loser guy from our world gets sent to epic fantasy place and pulls the baddest bitch in the universe. Allegedly, again, I'm not super familiar, I'm just trusting people's words here. But then there's Konosuba, an anime that looks at the same old stereotypes and redundancies of isekais and laughs in their face. Konosuba is a subversion of the genre, taking the lame tropes that have been run into the ground and spinning them into something genuinely great. Or at least that's what people say. As I've mentioned earlier, I know jack shit about anime. Which means yes, I have no direct comparisons. But it also means I have no bias, no genre loyalty, no years of anime rotting my brain and taking control of my actions. It's a goddamn epidemic! So when I watch this show, I will be forced to judge it as a standalone piece of media and objectively decide if Konosuba is really that good or just a slightly better version of an overused formula. And let's just say my final opinion ended up being a little complicated. Hey, what is going on, guys? Worst Trends here. Today, we are going to be taking a look at the first season of Konosuba. I hope you brought snacks, because we're going to be here a long time. This series is actually pretty long, with a 2nd and 3rd season with a 4th on the way, as well as a whole spin-off and movie. But we're just going to be covering season 1 today, because I've got better things to do. Maybe if this video does well, I'll go ahead and cover season 2. But before we get into episode 1, viewer discretion is advised. Stop watching the video if you're afraid of any of the following. And with all that intro stuff out of the way, today, we as a society will finally objectively learn, is Konosuba the best anime ever? Or like the best isekai ever, but we're saving syllables here. Let's jump right into episode 1. This shit better be good, I have a lot writing on it. Opening up on Earth, Japan, we get introduced to Kazuma Sato, a loser shut-in NEET who has no friends, no family, and is allergic to the sun. Whoa, is this show about me? If you're watching this channel, then yes, likely. After a new game in his favorite RPG series gets released, Kazuma is forced to venture outside in order to get a copy. While on the trek back home, he passes by a girl from his school, but when he turns to look at her, he sees a truck barreling down the road. In a moment of pure heroism, Kazuma leaps into action, pushing the girl out of the way while being fatally struck himself. Truly tragic, I miss him already. He wakes up in the afterlife, surrounded by an endless abyss of stars. Behind him, a girl walks up. Wow, she's stunning. I wonder what she has to say. Everyone shut the fuck up, the intro's starting! Oh yeah, this was made in Japan, wasn't it? Wonder what could have tipped me off. Don't get me wrong, this opening is an absolute banger. The whole show has fantastic music, as a matter of fact. Gonna be using it all video. But yeah, it's hard to ignore some of these visuals. Fucked up is what it is.
Your life was quite short, and now you are quite dead.
That is one smug castle. He's gonna get his later, though, don't worry.
This is the goddess Aqua. She'll be the one guiding Kazuma through his death. But first, Kazuma wants to ask if the girl he pushed is okay. You know, this Kazuma's a good guy. I hope his death was as honorable as he is. No, unfortunately for Kazuma, he did not die a hero's death. The man somehow mistook a 10-ton semi for a tiny red tractor. He collapsed in shock, had a long, pitiful death in a hospital, and he even pissed himself. What a way to go out, man. Fucked up is what it is. And Aqua couldn't care less about his feelings, laughing it up in his face. But luckily for Kazuma, once Aqua calms down, she tells him all about where he can go from here. He could either reincarnate back to Earth, go off to heaven, or choose the secret third option and get sent to an epic RPG fantasy world. See, just like Japan in real life, the fantasy world is currently being ransacked by the evil Devil King, and because of it, fewer and fewer of its citizens are choosing to be reincarnated back into it, leading to a dwindling population. To combat this, the gods started a foreign exchange program where people from other worlds can be sent to the fantasy world with their current body and memories, and if they're able to defeat said Devil King, will be granted any one limitless wish. I know what you're thinking. Oh, come on, that sounds too good to be true. What's the catch? You get a lot of porn. Kazuma gets sold on the fantasy world and as an extra perk gets to bring one powerful magic item alongside him for the journey. But Aqua was being mean to him and that really hurt his feelings. So as revenge, he picks her. Okay, nice try, Kazuma, but there's no way that—
Your request has been heard. And fear not, Lady Aqua, for in your absence I shall tend to your duties.
What the fuck?
You know, this seems like a pretty big oversight from whatever being runs this place. What if people just take all the gods? Much to the dismay of Aqua, the two start getting sent away to the fantasy world, and they get a pretty funny joke to go along with it.
You're coming with me and there's nothing you can do about it. I'll tap your power to live the good life, and I'll tap it all day, every day!
Aqua's pretentious facade immediately dropping with Kazuma's gloating is great, and this was actually a decently funny sex joke. With that, our two heroes arrive in the new world. Kazuma is excited to finally break out of his shell and become the hero he's always wanted to be. However, Aqua is not having it. Well, that seems like an overreaction, you only lost everything. The episode then presents a really interesting dynamic between our two main characters. Kazuma and Aqua fucking hate each other. Kazuma thinks Aqua is a useless brat, and Aqua thinks Kazuma is a loser nerd. But the thing is, they're both right. These two suck equally. Aqua may have more knowledge in magic and the sorts, but is completely lost when it comes to functioning in society. Kazuma, on the other hand, has played every RPG known to man and is thus surprisingly capable in this new fantasy-esque world. So Aqua, despite hating the guy, is forced to stick by Kazuma's side if she ever wants to return to the god world, with defeating the Devil King being the only way for her to go back. I don't remember if I mentioned that already. Hey, editing me! Go back and re-edit this entire segment. I'm about to lose my shit. Anyway, the two register to become adventurers and reveal something about this world I don't really get. This world isn't just a fantasy D&D kind of place. It physically works like an RPG. That's right, their lives are like a video game. Kazuma and Aqua get registered and receive literal stat cards. They're told about leveling and experience, and it's fine that they want to do this, but it's just a little odd, I don't know. All I'm saying is that Harry Potter didn't have turn-based combat. Why should this?
Enjoy.
Thanks. Ooh, that's deadly.
Why is this in the episode? But the two aren't quite ready to kill the Devil King yet, as they're very broke. So they're forced to work in order to get money, in order to work, in order to get money. And there's a montage of them doing just that. This is a pretty fun sequence. Shower shots are pretty unnecessary though, that was weird. Or maybe it's really awesome depending on the kind of person you are. That's me, I'm that type of person. Okay. I like how it's all fun, happy training stuff, and then it just cuts to Aqua throwing up in an alley. They rent out a stable to sleep in, and man, just play the clip.
God damn it!
I have a bad dream.
Oh man. Oh crap.
What's wrong? Do you need to go to the bathroom again? I'll go with you if you're scared of the dark.
I don't know if she's treating Kazuma like a baby or if she herself suffers from nightmares and homophobia, but either way, it's hilarious. And she sounds so sweet here, it's so cute. Calling it now, they're fucking later. In all seriousness though, this ending scene is kinda bad. She's talking to Kazuma and acting all excited about their wholesome little adventure they have. They made her too cute here. It's like they changed her personality for this scene. Aqua is a lot of things, but bubbly sidekick is not one of them.
Great!
This'll be fun.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
And isn't she supposed to be supremely pissed about being here? Kazuma ripped her from her life of luxury to sleep in a horse stable and do manual labor. I get that there were fun aspects shown in the montage, but I find it hard to believe she'd go from this to this so fast. But I don't know, maybe I'll just chalk it up to Stockholm Syndrome. But other than those few nitpicks I had, this is a great first episode. It sets up the plot well, the main characters and their dynamic are severely entertaining, and it actually has some really good jokes.
Don't you call me a geek? And I'm not a shut-in! I died outside my house!
I gotta say, when I first watched this episode, I was impressed. This show looks to be a really fun and unique adventure, and I'm really excited to watch more. Let's see if episode 2 can hold up. Kazuma is sad. He wants to be a cool adventurer, but so far has only had the chance to do mundane chores and uncomfortable shower shots. So with reawakened determination, he and Aqua make a plan to go out on an epic quest to kill giant frogs. It goes exactly how you'd expect, with Aqua immediately getting eaten. Twice.
Up close like this, you froggies are pretty cute.
After this, the two realize that they both just kinda suck ass in general and decide that enough is enough, it's time to get some help. So they put up a flyer and wait for a new party member to offer themselves up. In the meantime, they get dinner. Aqua's characterization in this scene is so fun. She's eating with her mouth open, chugging beer instead of listening to Kazuma stealing his food. It's low-key tragic. It's such a perfect encapsulation of her character. I love this pairing. Was that the fucking Pokeball sound effect? After about 30 hours of waiting, someone finally approaches. This is Megumin. Megumin. What a stupid fucking name. Oh shit. Megumin is an ultra-powerful arch-wizard who specializes in explosion magic, one of the most powerful spells you can learn. In pure confidence, she demands to show off her power. We're only one scene in and I already love Megumin. She's so funny. I love how she walks up with this dramatic speech only to get laughed at. Even though Kazuma and Aqua are outcasts themselves, Megumin is like 10 times as weird as them and they just do not fuck with her at all. The eye patch bit was really good too.
Then she's for real? My eye! Do you have any idea how long it takes to regenerate that?
Wanting to see Megumin in action, they bring her out to the fields for round 2 against the frogs. I like how this show presents these two frogs as a monumental challenge despite them being very low-level monsters. There's stakes, but it still presents the characters as the huge noobs they are. Aqua immediately gets eaten again, but Megumin begins to perform her patented explosion spell. And let me just say, this sequence is fucking sick. The glowing rings with all the little swirls of light, Megumin's badass delivery of the spell, and the phenomenal music and sound design make this scene so damn cool. This show knows how to blow its budget. And then it ends with this cut to Megumin just face-planted sliding down the hill, lol. I've noticed a lot of great gags in this show so far. Since Explosion is such an epically powerful spell, it immediately drains all of Megumin's energy to the point where she can't even move a muscle. Then she gets eaten. Megumin being the most powerful member of the party, yet having a devastating drawback is a really fun idea. She has to hold off on using her attack until the perfect moment, like she's the group's ult or something. So now both Megumin and Aqua are out of the battle, and now it's all up to Kazuma to finish the fight. It could have been cool to see him fight the frogs, but we instead cut to the battle already being over. I get that the episode can only be so long and the budget stretched so thin, but this is kind of a cop-out, don't you think? I really wish we could have seen Kazuma gut these frogs alive. Never mind, that sounds bad saying it out loud. The group treks back into town defeated and covered in slime. Kazuma tells Megumin that while the explosion is definitely cool, it's probably better if she sticks to smaller spells most of the time considering. But Megumin objects. Explosion is the only spell she will ever want to use. And it's not that she can't learn other spells, she just refuses to. She is obsessed with Explosion, it's all she lives for. She doesn't even want reward money or anything, she just wants someone to be with her after she uses it. You thought sex felt nice? Try. When Kazuma learns all this, he immediately decides that she's useless and tries to reject her entry to the party. But Megumin clings on, begging to stay with Kazuma and Aqua. But because Megumin is about half a foot tall on a good day, these civilians think that Kazuma is trying to abandon his child. So Megumin genuinely uses this to blackmail Kazuma into letting her join the team. And that makes 3. But before the episode ends, something absolutely wild happens. A new character! At the end of the episode, this other girl walks up and offers to join. And holy shit, this might be an interesting character. She looks very intimidating and talks very sternly. This is a huge contrast from the other main characters and can result in tons of great interactions between the—
I'd like to join your party, please!
And there you have it. Episode 2 was similarly really good. Kazuma and Aqua are just as strong as a duo as ever, and bringing Megumin into the picture makes things way more interesting. I don't know how this new character at the end is going to affect things, but I'll be hopeful and say that she'll be the best character in the show. The show seems to be setting itself up pretty well. Kazuma disliking both Aqua and Megumin not only allows for plenty of funny moments, but also potential character arcs and growth as the series goes on. Seeing everyone on the team go from bitter enemies forced to stay together to genuine friends could be really cool to see. I'm really excited to see what happens next, so let's just get on with it. Picking up right where the last episode left off, we get introduced to the new character Samus. Well, her real name is Darkness, but I'm gonna call her Samus because it makes me feel creative. Samus says that she's a crusader, but has issues finding a party because she has trouble landing attacks, and no other reason! This might be a weird thing to say, but I kinda like how much of a Redditor they make Kazuma here. I think it fits his character without being too weird or sexual, just being flustered by Samus's mere presence. Samus once again asks to join, but Kazuma thinks she'll just be another Megumin, so he turns her down nicely.
Yeah, well, we get eaten by monsters in every battle.
Oh, I wouldn't mind that either!
I don't think I like her anymore. We cut to later on where Kazuma is wanting to learn new spells. This is when Chris shows up. Hey, what the hell? This bitch isn't in the intro. Nope, right here, baby. So once again, like some sort of RPG guy, in this world you must see a spell be used by someone else in order to be able to learn it yourself. Chris ever so kindly teaches Kazuma Steal, a spell that when used on someone will randomly transfer one of their items into the user's hand. Kazuma learns it and then gets this Spider-Man-ass DNA sequence. But that's not all. Using the spell, Chris stole Kazuma's bag of money, and now challenges him to a duel to keep it. If he accepts the duel, Kazuma will use the spell on Chris and hope he can get something more valuable than the money he lost. Two things happen after this. 1. Kazuma accepts the duel. And 2. The show begins a downward spiral of hell and suffering that it never manages to recover from. Let's just say that Kazuma ends up stealing, certain article of clothing and leave it at that. And then the asshole holds it for ransom and forces her to pay all her money in order to get them back. What? This does not feel like something this character would do. A few weeks ago, he died because he was scared of a slow-moving tractor. There's no way this guy has the balls to do something like this. It's also just really weird. And then in the next scene, Chris is all crying and shit, and this is just uncomfortable. Chris's reaction is so realistically traumatized, and like, am I supposed to be laughing? Am I supposed to be sad? What exactly is the goal here? Okay, I'm not gonna act like I don't know, it's fetish content. So, anyway, Kazuma goes back inside, wanting to show the others the new skill he learned. He uses it once again on Megumin, and oh, what do you know, lightning struck the same place twice. I see absolutely no reason why this bit needs to happen a second time. To be honest, it was a little funny the first time, at least in concept. Chris says that Kazuma will either steal her magic dagger or some plain old rocks. Then he uses steal and she drops the rocks. Then they start hyping up what Kazuma got and you're like, holy shit, he actually got the dagger, no way! Then you see that she still has the dagger and then Kazuma pulls out what he steals and you get the picture. It's a well-crafted joke, I mean, it's weird as hell, but hey, well-crafted nonetheless. The second time is not only redundant, not only unnecessary, not only unfunny, but it also goes on for way too long. The first time was already pushing it, but I swear, this is like a minute-long scene, a solid 5% of the entire episode, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, it feels like it. Suddenly, an emergency alert sirens through the city. A pack of wild cabbages is attacking, and every adventurer in town intends to kill all of them and turn them into food. However, these balls of Brussels become a bit brutal when they begin to bump bitterly back into the bunches of people. Thankfully, Samus jumps in to protect everyone from the cabbages, taking the full brunt of their attacks. But then, there's not a single way I can describe what's happening in this scene without it sounding really weird. Or even show it for that matter, you're probably looking at blurred footage right now. I think I'm just gonna let Kazuma explain.
He's getting off on it!
After all that, we cut back to the guild after all the work is done. They congratulate Kazuma on all his good work today as well. Hey, wait a minute. Kazuma didn't do anything today, he just stood and watched. Oh, but no, apparently he killed a bunch of cabbages off screen using a new spell he learned. Off screen. I swear the show wasn't that stupid earlier. Megumin and Aqua were impressed with Samus's display of heroism, and they allow her to join the party to the dismay of Kakarot. Okay, well, that was the episode.
What the fuck just happened?
I'm just gonna say it, this episode was awful. It's insane just how much of a nosedive this episode took after the last one. It was so focused on providing fan service that it forgot to have fun characters, good jokes, or self-harm prevention. It's all just sex jokes now, that's all this episode provides. Those interesting characters and their dynamic are nowhere to be seen. Samus takes the main spotlight, which would be fine in any other show. This is her introduction after all. But she is also the most annoying, painstakingly obvious clip farm of a character to ever exist. If this is all she has to offer, then I'm going to get very tired of this character very fast. Please, for the love of God, someone tell me this character gets better later. I want to quickly talk about the change this episode makes to Aqua. She doesn't have a whole lot of screen time here, but what she does get, I don't particularly care for. At the end of the episode, Kazuma is trying to discourage the others from joining the party and tells them all about their plan to kill the Devil King. This is when Aqua leans over and says,
After hearing you say all that, I'm not so sure we should do this anymore.
We are 3 episodes in, how are you already derailed? Aqua, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you want to get back to being a goddess again? And other than that, she's a little too bubbly and happy, especially when talking to Kazuma. I really liked how Aqua was portrayed in episode 1. She thinks incredibly highly of herself because she's a goddess, but in reality, she's pathetic. This is painted perfectly in the afterlife scene. When Kazuma shows up, she's laughing at him, eating potato chips and shit. She cares so little about whatever Kazuma is doing that she doesn't even notice what he chooses to bring until it's too late. Then when she starts getting sent to the other world, she drops her little facade and starts crying and pleading to stay. She's a loser with an ego. But this episode almost makes it seem like she's completely content living in this new world. On its own, that would be a great arc for the character to have, but we are only 3 episodes in. I don't think that was the idea they were going for. I guess you could chalk it up to Aqua accepting her new life, but I find it a little odd considering just how distraught she was in episode 1. And there's also a huge lack of focus showing why she's changed up her tone so much. And here,
God, put a sock in it! Oh, what did I ever do to deserve this life?
Kazuma is blatantly an asshole in front of everyone, but they stay blissfully unaware. Don't you think that episode 1 Aqua would do anything other than just stare off into the void smiling? I don't know, it's just a thought. But yeah, that episode was not too great admittedly. However, I still have hope. Episodes 1 and 2 were fantastic, so we'll just consider this episode a slight misstep as the writers hopefully get things back on track for... Okay, I want you to take a guess. Do you think this episode is going to be good or bad? Got your answer? Well, this is how the episode opens. So what do you think? Dude, the law of matter conservation is fucked. Megumin wants to practice her explosion magic, but because of all the destruction it causes, she needs to do it far away from town. And because she becomes completely immobile after casting the spell, she asks Kazuma to walk out with her and carry her back. Kazuma reluctantly agrees and the two head out and stumble across an abandoned castle. This is what Megumin decides to use as target practice for her explosions, and she continues to come back every day to try to get better. With Samus and Aqua being out of the way for a few weeks, he at first resents her for making him do all this, but over time he starts to come around and begins to take a liking to Megumin. Seems like a happy ending to the episode, right? Well, what if I told you that all of that takes place in a 2-minute montage and that's not actually what this episode is about?
What?
Thank you for that reaction. I like your investment. So Kazuma and Megumin are friends now after going out to the castle and using an explosion every day. Now, I do believe that these two characters could become closer after spending all this time together, but the problem is, they never show it. This whole thing of the two going out to use explosion happens in a quick montage that's 95% voiceover. There's a single scene where Kazuma compliments Megumin's explosion and that's all we get. We never actually get to see the two become closer friends over the course of the month, which is pretty necessary considering that Kazuma legitimately hated Megumin and tried to convince her to leave the party the last time they interacted. And also, oh, I don't know, they're 2 of the 4 main characters? What if instead of just a 2-minute montage, there was a whole episode centered around these two? Aqua is off at her day job and Samus goes back home to dick around, most likely literally. The whole thing could start off with Megumin wanting Kazuma to go out with her to use explosion, but he refuses, saying that he has more important things to do. But with a little bit of begging, she's able to convince him. The rest of the episode could be the two stumbling upon the castle and coming back every day to use the spell. Kazuma initially calls the practice babysitting. He clearly doesn't see much potential or value in Megumin. So maybe at the start here he can be really annoyed at the idea of having to walk multiple miles every day just to watch Megumin do one explosion and carry her back. But after spending enough time talking and joking around as well as seeing her skills improve, he starts to consider her a more valuable member of the party and even a potential friend. Megumin herself could start off not thinking much of Kazuma. The guy kinda treats her like she's crazy, so maybe she wouldn't be too happy being stuck with him either. But no matter what the two think of each other, every day Kazuma still takes the long trek out to the castle with Megumin and carries her home, making her eventually realize that Kazuma is a good person at heart and does care about her at least a little bit. Then over time the two start being more friendly to each other, talking about their lives, complaining about the others, or just straight up messing around, leading up to how they are at the end of the episode here. Okay, I'm kinda getting ahead of myself here. Maybe that'd be a little too much stuff, but I think it would be cool. I mean, just anything would be nice considering Kazuma goes from
What did I ever do to deserve this life?
to
Nice explosion!
within the span of 3 minutes. No, they can't do that. It wouldn't follow the manga. Look at me. Does it look like I give a flying fuck about the manga? It's an adaptation, meaning it can and should be more than a one-to-one retelling of the manga. I don't know if this applies much to the current conversation, but it needs to be said regardless. Anyway, as it turns out, that castle that Megumin has been blasting this whole time was home to one of the Devil King's highest ranking generals. He's pissed off about having his house be blown up every day and comes down to the city to see who's been doing it. And can I just say, this guy looks fucking sick. He gets lightning strikes every time he talks and his voice and design are awesome. Love this guy, he'll never do anything bad. Megumin confronts him and admits that she was the one who did it. They talk for a little too long, honestly. And the horseman says that he'll spare the town as long as Megumin promises to stop blowing up the castle. But she refuses and insists on continuing, which just makes the horseman even angrier. You better souls for a bomb? Horseman guy decides that he'll just give Megumin a chronic illness and move on. I don't know, like lupus. But Samus jumps in front of the blast and gets cursed instead. I think I'm supposed to be sad that Samus is going to die, but the show makes no effort to make me actually like her, so I'm not just indifferent, but actually excited for her to die. Horseman guy just keeps getting better and better. I guess the showrunners realized that they still had 2 minutes to kill, so they just cram in a dozen more masochist jokes, and this is already mind-numbing.
And to break this foul curse, I shall have to submit my body to all manner of pornographic acts, over and over again!
I think we should all kill ourselves.
This genuinely might be the worst character I've ever had the displeasure of viewing. Thumbnail moment.
What shall I do, Kazuma?
How should I know?
Why did he say that? That was so fucking funny. The horseman says that if the team manages to make their way through the dungeons of his castle, he would reverse the curse and save Samus from eventual death. Megumin, feeling responsible for the incident, decides that she'll immediately head off in order to save her. But before she leaves, Kazuma stops her, electing himself to join. Kazuma looks like he genuinely cares about Megumin here. By the way they talk, it seems like they both kinda know that they're not gonna survive the dungeons. But they go off anyway because it's the right thing to do, which is actually really sweet. I only wish the episode managed its time a little better, and this would have been way more impactful. But as it turns out, none of that matters anyway because Aqua can use her epic goddess powers to cure Samus. Thanks, Aqua! Well, that was bad. To be fair, this episode was a huge step up from the last one. Episode 3 was 100% sex jokes, while this one is only 96%. What a treat! The only major issue is how unfocused the episode feels. There's the Megumin and Kazuma stuff, the Horseman curse stuff, and the whole opening 7 minutes that I didn't even mention because nothing happens. It would have been so easy to cut this and extend that. This episode had all the ingredients to make a damn good cake, but instead, we ended up with cornbread. But you know what? I guess I don't mind cornbread. 5 out of 10.
This place is such a rip-off!
Yes, Kazuma, I fucking know. You mention it every single time. We're 5 episodes in. I get the concept already. This is the same exact opening as episode 2, by the way. Aqua is once again poor and wants to do a quest to make money, so she begs Kazuma to let the team do one. Now, I can see why Megumin and Samus see Kazuma as the party leader since he's a lot more assertive than Aqua and usually gets the final say. But Aqua is a goddess, and I have a hard time believing she'd be asking a high schooler for permission to do things.
So what the heck? Pick out a quest and we'll go with ya.
Yes, sir!
She wouldn't fucking say that. It's so weird how the dynamic between these two have shifted over the past 2 episodes, and for what reason. It's so easy to have these two be at equal odds at all times, plus it's way more entertaining too. Here's a good example of that.
With my name and looks, it should be obvious what I'm a goddess of.
The goddess of cheap party tricks?
No, you stupid shut-in needs! Are you blind? My eyes are blue, my hair's blue, I'm the goddess of water!
See, that's good, that's funny, just fucking do that!
You pick first!
Aqua soon finds a quest that Kazuma likes. A nearby lake has been turned into a swamp and infested with monsters. If the group is able to purify it, the monsters will leave and they'll be rewarded with 300,000 new dollars. Aqua, being the goddess of water and all, can simply sit in the water to purify it. And to get around the problem of the monsters, they stick her ass in a cage. There we go, problem solved. The group gets out there and they begin the 7-hour wait it takes for Aqua to purify.
She sounds like she's doing just fine. By the way, Crimson Demons don't pee or anything either.
Okay, thanks for throwing in that fun fact there, Megumin. Okay, so I wanted to just leave this scene at that joke, but this peeing conversation just continues on for far too long, and wow, I think this is our first poorly disguised fetish of the series. Huh? What about the masochism and clothes stealing? Be so for real, dude. Those weren't disguised at all. They were proud of that shit. Eventually, the monster alligators show up and start attacking the cage, and they really get at it, doing death rolls and everything.
I'm feeling jealous. It looks fun inside that cage.
Yeah, plenty of that in hell, you banshee bitch.
And this brings us to a scene that I genuinely really love. When the dust settles and the lake is completely purified, all the monsters leave, but Aqua isn't happy. Being trapped in a small area with no escape, all while being attacked by bloodthirsty monsters, really did a number on Aqua. When the others come down to get her out, she's completely unresponsive. She starts crying and refuses to leave the cage. Kazuma starts to berate her, but once he realizes how serious she is, he stops. The scene completely stops with the jokes and even drops the music as we sit in this painfully uncomfortable scene of Aqua crying. Kazuma and the others try to cheer her up and tell her she can have the whole reward to herself, but she doesn't even care. She's traumatized. I fucking love this scene. This is the perfect encapsulation of Aqua as a character. She picks out the quest thinking she's hot shit, but when things get tough, we see just how pathetic she really is. I also really like how the rest of the party acts. Kazuma isn't yelling at her like usual. He actually shows her real empathy, and you can tell that he genuinely feels bad for her. For the first time ever, he sees her as a real person, not just a burden or a mistake, hinting at some sort of future connection between the two. And the whole thing is played completely straight. There's no joke to break the tension, which I really appreciate. I love this part of the episode so much, which is why it's so painful when it immediately drops in quality after this. The gang carts Aqua back through town and stumbles across a new foe, John. I am not pronouncing that name. Much like Kazuma, John also died on Earth and met Aqua, being reincarnated into the same world with the same purpose. Except he got a cool-ass sword to help. He notices Aqua in the cage, and recognizing her from the afterlife, breaks her out, thinking she's being taken captive. Already, this is a super cool idea that opens the door for tons of future conflicts.
My friend did not give you permission to touch her.
Since when did you care about consent? John demands answers on why she was locked up, so Kazuma literally just tells John the entire story, reincarnation and all. Oh yeah, and Aqua just underpressed herself. Thank God, we almost had something interesting there. Okay, yeah, so I thought that maybe the incident at the lake would change Aqua's character for the rest of the show. But apparently all it takes is being reminded that she's a goddess for her to go back to her usual antics. She never changes after this. John respects the hell out of Aqua and is pretty justifiably pissed at Kazuma for how he treats her. Things are right about to get ugly before Aqua steps in.
No, wait! I don't really mind that he forced me to come here anymore. I'm having lots of fun doing all sorts of lifey things.
That was really bad.
That just ruined Aqua's character. If she doesn't care about being a goddess anymore, which I highly doubt would happen, then she has no reason to be with Kazuma anymore, who, little remind her, hates her and she hates back. I know he was just nice to her a few minutes ago, but that doesn't exactly balance it out. Anyway, John decides that he'll battle Kazuma for the freedom of Aqua. This is when Steel finally comes back into play, and Kazuma is actually kind of a badass here. I like that since Kazuma obviously wouldn't be able to win this fight normally, he has to actually strategize and play dirty to win, catching John off guard and stealing his sword. It's very fitting for the character and sets John and Kazuma as foils for each other, which could come back into play in some interesting ways. I even like how embarrassingly John gets knocked out here, gives him more to hate Kazuma for. John's out of the fight, but his two little sidekicks are still here. They call Kazuma a coward, so to get rid of them, Kazuma threatens to steal their clothes. Every time I compliment this show, it just has to prove me wrong. A weird thing that happens in this scene is that the girls immediately hate John before he even does anything.
This guy's trouble with a capital T.
This guy actually seems very kind and reasonable. Are we watching the same show here? Sparring Kazuma for Aqua is kind of a dick move, but that doesn't happen until after the girls already say they want to kill him. And John probably thinks that Aqua's like brainwashed or something, so I don't really get the hate. It just kind of goes to show that maybe the writers don't put the most amount of thought into the dialogue. They go back to the guys! Focus! They go back to the guild and it turns out that Kazuma stole and then proceeded to sell John's magical god sword. Also, the reincarnation and goddess secret is told to Samus and Megumin in a crowded public area. Apparently, they had their hands over their ears yelling la 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 when Kazuma told John about it earlier. The horse guy shows up again at the end and thumbnail moment. Wow, episode 5 was shockingly really amazing. This episode has some of the best content we've seen thus far. The lake scene, the character changes, the concept of John as a whole. This is some great stuff that could completely alter the trajectory of the show in a really good way. But on the other hand, it still has the bad dialogue, strange writing decisions, and rampant sex jokes like the previous 2 episodes. I still think it comes out to being a very slight positive rating, but damn it, dude, it could have been straight up amazing. The lake stuff and the John stuff fits together so perfectly that I'm surprised it wasn't synergized much at all. There's so many little ideas this episode has that, if used in the right way, would come out to be something really cool. So to help prove my point, I'm gonna do exactly that. Without further ado, here's my abridged rewrite of Season 1 Episode 5 of Konosuba. I honestly think that everything up to meeting John can stay as is, assuming that it uses its time more wisely. Moving on to the later scene, the best thing to do with John is make him 100% nice and perfect. Don't make him a white knight, don't make him an egotist, make him the textbook stereotypical heroic main character. AKA the exact opposite of Kazuma, AKA the exact thing Kazuma wished he was at the start of the episode. John is everything Kazuma wants to be and he hates him for it, making this like a Ned Flanders situation. Better yet, have everyone else in the team really like John, leaving Kazuma alone in his feelings. And later on, Kazuma could go so far into bothering, mocking, and impeding John to the point where his personality begins to crumble and he starts showing real intense negative emotions. This being where Konosuba's famous subversions would come in. But that would all be something that would have to be explored in future episodes. For now, John learns of how Kazuma has been treating the goddess he loves and respects and intends to free her from this awful life. John tells Aqua all about his quest to kill the Devil King, and as he talks, it's clear that this guy has a real shot of actually taking him down. In the beginning of the episode, we see John kill a dragon in one blow. The dude's strong. This whole time, Aqua is still in her traumatized state from the lake incident and has come to realize how weak and powerless she really is. John asks Aqua to join his party, and seeing how strong and protective he is of her, she actually accepts, shocking the rest of the group as she flat out abandons them. John and Aqua leave as he wants to buy Aqua some gear and introduce her to the others. This leaves Kazuma in a weird place. This whole time he hated Aqua, constantly thinking that she was nothing more than dead weight. But now that she's gone, things are different. Maybe the party tries to go out to do a quest and find that Aqua's support role was a lot more useful than they gave credit, and morale seems a lot lower without Aqua's cheerleading. So after some time, Kazuma comes to realize, oh fuck, I missed that asshole! They do their usual thing of being mean and annoying, but all it does is make Aqua double down on her decision, and John kicks them out of the room. At this point, all hope seems lost. Aqua is scared and anxious and never wants to face danger ever again. There's seemingly no way the group could get her to join back or even break her out of her depression. Until... See, there's a single line of dialogue in the original episode that I really want to give more focus. When Aqua says that the world is too scary and she doesn't want to leave the cage, Kazuma has a realization.
She's just like I used to be. Never mind.
This right here is the key to fixing Kazuma and Aqua's relationship. A little bit of relatability. The next day, Aqua ventures outside to get water or something. I don't know, it doesn't fucking matter, but it would be cool if it paralleled Kazuma's introduction in episode 1. Kazuma was waiting outside and takes the moment to talk with Aqua alone. Aqua tries to call for help, but Kazuma begs her to listen. The two sit down and Kazuma tells her all about his old life of being shut in and alone. It was an easy life, but it wasn't fulfilling. Only once he got reincarnated and forced to break out of his shell was he able to actually live. The goal of the talk wasn't to get Aqua to join the team again. Kazuma knows that she's in much better hands with John anyway. All Kazuma wanted was to see her happy again. After this, Kazuma walks away. But Aqua, being touched by Kazuma's words, sticks it to John and runs back to join the old team. And much like Megumin in my episode 4 rewrite, Aqua can finally see Kazuma's true nature and decides that, you know, maybe she kinda likes him too. That whole speech can also double as Kazuma realizing that despite all the lame chores and dumb sidekicks, he genuinely really does love it in this new world and his new friends alongside it. And they all go off happily ever after. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I really like this rewrite for the characters. Admittedly though, it does have a few issues which I'll address now. This type of huge character arc for both Kazuma and Aqua is fitted far better for an episode close to the season finale, not smack dab in the middle of it. I would personally move this to be the penultimate episode of the season, with the group coming back together just in time for the finale's big battle. And this whole thing is probably a bit too much for just one episode, so maybe they'd have to sprinkle in a bit more content and then just break it into 2. And yeah, maybe this is a little basic and goes against the show's themes of subversion, but just because a show is a subversion doesn't mean it can't have emotional moments with its characters, right? But either way, I cooked here, right? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, but I had fun talking about that for a page and a half. Holy shit, this video is gonna be long. This episode is exactly what the title card implies. Just a single fight scene stretched out to the length of an episode. There's a whole lot of bullshit and even more time wasting that happens, so I'm just gonna run through this episode rather quickly. Despite the Horseman's warning, Megumin has still been blowing up his castle every day with Aqua. Finally having enough, he descends to the town to slaughter all its citizens. Every adventurer in town prepares the fight. Realistically, the Horseman would easily sweep this novice level town in minutes. But due to this episode's insane amount of plot armor, he gets beaten pretty easily. They use water to weaken him, and then Kazuma steals his head, which somehow completely neutralizes him as a threat. Needless to say, the guy was nerfed hard. The whole thing is pretty underwhelming, but there's at least a few upsides. The townsfolk decide to do something for the first time ever and get killed off in this sick-ass red glow shot. And Megumin and Aqua's spells have great effects as per usual. There's also this bit where Megumin floats by in the water, and I thought that was kind of funny. And with all the positives out of the way, let's dig into these negatives. John is completely missing for the entire battle. He doesn't even show up once. It's probably because he didn't have his magic sword back, but it's never explicitly said why. Kazuma potentially sentencing the entire town to death because he wanted to be petty is a cool idea, but it doesn't get explored at all. They just wanted to write John out of the episode. Samus's jokes are as annoying as ever. Remember that one bit a few episodes ago where Samus said that the Horseman was going to kidnap and torture her, and then the Horseman was all like, "Oh no, that's not true, this bitch is crazy!" I kid you not, that exact joke is repeated like 3 times in this episode. It was never funny to begin with, but now the joke's just been run into the ground. Even the horny people gotta be getting tired of it at this point, right? Aqua's powers get a huge buff this episode. She now knows a bunch of offensive spells, and I don't want to complain about everything this show does, but you know, f it, that's what you're all here for, aren't you? Aqua's supposed to be the support of the group. Why does she have the strongest spells out of everyone? This is stupid. I like how she floods the village. It's a way she can attack without using explicitly offensive spells, and that's a lot more unique and fitting for her character, I think. Far worse, though, is that Aqua can just resurrect people from the dead. Consequences? What's that? Purifying water and curses make sense, but I draw the line at this bullshit. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. In a future episode, someone's gonna die, and it's not gonna mean anything because Aqua can just recover them no problem. This is like the opposite of raising the stakes. Samus admits to having a humiliation fetish this episode. Media literacy really is dead. How come I wasn't able to figure that out? After getting a huge reward for defeating the Horseman, Kazuma suddenly doesn't want to fight the Devil King anymore. Like, why? He was just yelling at Aqua for wanting to give up a few episodes ago, but now the roles are reversed for both of them. The Horseman, I think, is actually killed off permanently, and now the whole town loves the group. I personally think that the show should make more of an effort to show that the party members are outcast to society. The only reason Megumin and Samus joined in the first place was because literally no one else wanted them. But when you have the characters being heroes every episode with the whole town loving them, I find it weird why some people wouldn't want to leave the party. Especially since the show does such a terrible job establishing good relationships between them. Like, you could have a good moment after this scene here where one of the girls is offered to join a different party, but they reject the offer because they're loyal or whatever. Like, this is perfectly set up because Samus mentions her old party dumping her earlier in the episode. Konosuba, like, the puzzle pieces are right there. For the love of love guy just put two together. The fight was cool at points, but probably could have been half the length and been twice as good. This was funny though.
Well, that was disappointing. No die!
Episode 7 opens with, wait a minute. What is this? The afterlife again? No, it's not possible. Kazuma dies? It can't be. Hey, remember what Albert Einstein said about insanity? For some reason, this show is hard stuck on using the same ideas over and over again. Kazuma and Aqua are in debt, and Kazuma blames everything on Aqua despite the fact that he's the one that told her to flood the village. Despite how it may feel, the characters have made almost no progress this season. They're still poor, they still sleep in a stable, and they're still enemies. The only kind of progression they've had is not being social outcasts anymore. But even then, that aspect of the group was only ever used for jokes. Societal pressure rarely, if ever, impacts how a character acts or feels in a meaningful way. The only exception that really comes to mind is Aqua being humbled by the priest in episode 1. With the way that almost every episode starts with the team going on quests, it almost feels like the show wants to be episodic when it really shouldn't be, in my opinion. Imagine Breaking Bad had no plot and every episode was just seeing what wacky hijinks Walt and Jesse were up to. Samus is into bestiality. Just thought that was something you all should know. Today's episode of Dora the Explorer sees the team go out into the snow to kill some Pokemon. I don't know, like Vanillite or some shit. Iceberg! They kill a few, but then because it's winter now, the Winter Shogun shows up and he's a badass. He's the protector of the Vanillites and has come to avenge them. But he's also very forgiving, and if the squad simply puts their heads down and bows down to him, he'll leave them alone. Aqua hammers this message into Kazuma for like 2 minutes straight, but Kazuma realizes that he likes the idea of getting his head chopped off, and wow, what a lucky guy. I wish my dreams came true that fast. Been waiting for years now. Kazuma Sato is dead. Once again in the afterlife, he meets Eris, the goddess that everyone in town worships. And more importantly, she's bad as hell. His words, not mine! And for being such a kind fellow, Kazuma gets to be reincarnated back onto Earth in a rich, luxurious family. Apparently, Eris has been watching his journey and, for some reason, couldn't tell you why, thinks Kazuma is deserving of anything other than the fiery pits of hell.
Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole.
Kazuma does not remotely deserve to be reincarnated into a good life in Japan. He's a selfish, perverted asshole with a severe lack of empathy or social awareness who bullies, hits, and torments the only people around that actually care about him. And all the while, he complains about and blames everything around him except for himself. Kazuma is the last person to deserve a good life. Oh, so he's worse than Genghis Khan? Please shut the fuck.
That world's game balance was beyond jacked up.
Wait, what is he doing?
Even though my life was tough in that crazy world, it was still pretty fun.
Please tell me he did not just say that.
And what I'll miss most is hanging out with my friends.
What the fuck?
This show is genuinely unbelievable. You can't just pull this shit expecting me to be all sad and bittersweet about Kazuma leaving his team. Because just 3 minutes earlier in this very episode, he had a genuine crash out about how much he hates these three. This moment where Kazuma is about to leave his friends forever and realizes that he genuinely really cared for them the whole time could be a fantastic moment. But it doesn't fit the context of the episode, or even the rest of the show to an extent. I get that they were trying to make Kazuma be at his lowest in this episode, with him hating everything about the new world, but they pushed it so far that I just don't buy that he would ever want to stay. And then the episode ends with him wishing he was reincarnated. He's so fucking negative all the time. What I think is the most astonishing thing to me is how much they like to change his relationship with Megumin on a whim. First they're enemies, then they're friends, then Kazuma has a one-sided dislike for her, then they're chill again. Then when the Winter Shogun pulls up and Megumin smartly plays dead, he thinks about how much he wants to stomp her skull in. Yes, really, I am not making that up. And now we're supposed to believe that Kazuma actually loved and respected everyone this whole time. This is just dumb, dude. Beating them blind, and he gets to be born rich. What a sick joke.
He defecated through a sunroof.
Yeah, that too. Kazuma obviously gets revived by Aqua, which, credit where credit is due, was an ability we already learned Aqua has. Imagine if they just sprung that on us now. This rant would be like twice as long. I mean, if that's what you guys want, just let me know. I'm really good at pretending. Aqua is able to speak through the void and bully Eris, which, I don't know, that was kind of alright.
Hey, Kazuma!
Yeah?
If she keeps giving you trouble, tell her I'll let everyone know she pads her bra. Okay, you
That
win!
true?
I'll make an exception this time! I'll open the gate for him right away!
They're pads?
Okay, that was pretty funny, I'll give you that one. But Samus has way more lines than usual, and she talks about wanting to be in a tentacle hentai, and yeah, I think that's another point for America there. Kazuma gets brought back, and nothing was accomplished or changed, and the whole thing was pointless. But oh wow, I guess everyone really does care for each other. Don't worry, next episode, Kazuma's gonna put Megumin in a saw trap, crush her spine or some shit. This means nothing. This whole afterlife thing could so easily be a cool moment. You wouldn't even have to change the scene very much. All you'd have to do is add a bit more build-up. Like a lot more build-up. As in rewrite the season. In terms of positives for this episode, Aqua obsessing over the Digimon she caught was pretty funny. I actually kind of like it when Aqua acts all childish. I talked about it earlier, and I think it's just kind of charming. It's such a huge contrast to how she normally acts, where it's just really funny. My personal headcanon is that Aqua is a relatively young god, so her brain isn't fully developed yet, and I feel like that adds up. I like how Kazuma gets a crush on Eris and thinks he has a shot. That's such a Kazuma thing to do. He's such an incel. There were also a few quips in the beginning of the episode that I thought were a little funny, but that's all the kind of things I have to say about episode 7. If it wasn't clear already, this episode is nothing but filler. They even spend all the money they got from the quest at the end. Truly, nothing was lost or gained, apparently except for gray matter. Truth be told, the episode isn't terrible. It's very much a C tier of an episode, middle of the road, a 5 out of 10. It's not good, but I mean, I'll take it at this point. Alright, episode 8. Why is there a gun in my hand? Kazuma wants to learn a new spell, so he goes to ask Wiz if she can teach him something new. Hold on. Wiz? Am I supposed to know who this is? I don't remember her. Did I forget something? Is the Alzheimer's back? It's been a bad fucking day. No, apparently, the group met Wiz sometime off screen, during an entire quest that they went on that we only hear about via voiceover. Spoilers, but this character and that quest end up being pretty important to the plot of this episode. So wouldn't it make more sense if this whole graveyard quest is what last episode was about instead of the Winter Shogun thing? The episode spends the next 8 minutes dumping every ounce of exposition out of Wiz anyway, so wouldn't it be easier just to give her her own episode? Anyway, let's take a look at Wiz herself. Is she a worthwhile character? Well, in some people's eyes, maybe. From my perspective, Wiz is nothing more than yet another Rule 34 bait character. Just look at her, dude. Big tits, soft voice, submissive personality. They couldn't make it any more obvious if they tried. The idea behind this character is admittedly pretty funny, though. She's very polite and unassertive, which can lead to some fun moments with Aqua, who despises her for some reason.
Look here, witches are icky. They love dank, gloomy places like crypts and dungeons. I mean, when you think about it, they're pretty much the same as slugs. Hey, that's mean!
But it's hard to enjoy any of the jokes they do with her because I know that the intention of her existence isn't for comedy, but for all the enthusiasts watching at home to get their kicks. Damn, I wish I had a smoking hot submissive girlfriend like that. She gets flustered so easily. I bet she'd let me do whatever I wanted to. Okay, that's enough, thank you! Aqua hates Wiz with every fiber of her being, which is a little odd, but I'm not gonna act like it isn't really funny. In fact, Aqua is a lot better in this whole opening scene. Her dynamic with Kazuma is reset back to how it was in episode 1. They're antagonistic towards each other, but in a way that doesn't make either of them seem like unreasonable assholes. I really like that. The past 2 episodes, Kazuma's just been way too unfair to a much nicer Aqua. Aqua beats the hell out of Wiz over the course of this scene, and Kazuma calls her a bully for trying to kill a defenseless ally. Bully is an understatement. I call her a terrorist. During Wiz's long-ass exposition dump, we learn that she's one of the Devil King's 8 generals, her specialty being creating a powerful barrier around the Devil King's castle. I don't think that's really how being a general works, but okay, sure. Henry Ford, thank you so much for building these tanks. You're one of my generals now.
What the fuck?
They're just talking and then it randomly cuts to Wiz's tits out of nowhere. Why? You didn't have to do that. With this being an anime and all, I already want to watch this when no one else is around. But the fact that at this point, every human in this show with an XX chromosome has to, confirms that I will only be watching this when there's no one within a 5-mile radius. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do if someone walks in?
They're watching me.
Hey man, what's going on? Just hanging around. They turned the horseman into a pervert. That's fucking character assassination. He'd never do that. And I'm not just saying that because I like him. He hated Samus for doing this exact type of thing. They're just putting anything into the fucking script at this point. They don't even fucking care. Episode 8 Part 2 begins now. The group was offered a quest off screen. If they can exorcise all the ghosts out of this haunted house, they get to keep it. Sounds like a fucking Mr. Beast video. They clean up, pick their rooms, and go to sleep. I'm gonna be real, guys, I don't think I really like this show anymore. I mean, it started out good, but now it's just so boring and weird that I don't even know if I wanna— Oh, fuck yeah, spooky ghost shit, we're back in this, baby! Yo, this shit looks like Scooby-Doo Legend of the Phanosaur, what the hell? Kazuma starts getting chased around by some ghost dolls and turns to Aqua's room for help. But instead of Aqua being there, he finds Megumin. Just like Kazuma, Megumin also had a run-in with some ghosts and went to find company. Hell yeah, looks like we're gonna be getting a Kazuma and Megumin pairing for this episode. That should be cool. I'm gonna ignore how much they talk about pissing in this scene again.
Hey, Megumin, do me a favor and turn around and cover your ears for a bit. I'm gonna go out on the balcony and come on, let go.
Stop! What
Seriously,
are you doing?
I'm like
what are
2
you doing?
seconds away
What
from
are you
hosing
doing?
down the room.
What are you doing?
I'm not
what
letting go.
are you doing
Who
with
knows
your
what'll
life?
happen if you go out there alone?
Me? What am I
Besides,
doing
we're
with
in the
my
same
life?
party.
I could be
Stick
doing
together
anything.
wherever we go.
What? No! Oh my
Even to the
God.
bathroom.
Fuck you! Fuck you!
I'm a masochist.
Unfortunately for everyone with ears, from here on out, this episode is obsessed with characters peeing, needing to pee, or talking about holding in their pee. And it goes without saying that this just straight up ruins the episode. There will be a genuinely really entertaining back and forth between Kazuma and Megumin, but it just gets ruined because of what the conversation is about. Like, this scene here is actually kind of funny until it, well, you know, does what Konosuba does best. This is actually just super uncomfortable. I don't know how people can sit through this. I'm sure there's quite a lot of sick fucks out there that love this scene, but unfortunately, I'm not one of them. If only things could be different. And right when things actually look interesting, the episode just ends. The resolution to the episode is Aqua exercising everything off screen. Like, I shouldn't have to tell you that's bad writing. Over everything else, this show needs to learn how to prioritize. In fact, let me give a quick lesson on how to make a good plot. Alright kids, I'm gonna name a plot beat and I want you to tell me if it's deserving of screen time or not. Ready? Let's go! The main villain of the episode getting defeated. That's right, that deserves screen time. The writer's not even remotely disguised fetish. Oh, not quite right. This one deserves no screen time. You fucking degenerate. It seems simple, but I mean, they just don't get it. As it turns out, the reason there's ghosts in the house is because of the graveyard bit Wiz told us about earlier. Instead of exorcising the ghosts like she was supposed to, Aqua blocked them from entering the graveyard, leading to them flocking to the nearby house. Just yet another reason last episode should have been about the graveyard stuff. Alright, episode over. That was... it was bad, guys! The episode as a whole is just way too disjointed. The whole first half is just Wiz lore dumping, which leads to the actual interesting ghost stuff being delegated to the last 7 minutes. And that's not even including the guild stuff, so it's actually more like 5. Of course there's the fetish stuff, which obviously sucks, but I think the biggest travesty is fucking up a Halloween episode. Let me tell you guys something. I fucking love Halloween specials. All this episode had to do was have the team get chased around by ghosts for 22 minutes, and I would have been happy. And guess what? The collective 60 seconds where that does happen is fucking awesome. So how do you possibly manage to mess up this bad? Oh, come on, man. It could have been a lot worse. Yeah, just like how Hitler could have been a cannibal too. What's your point? I really want to dig into the characters in this episode though, because believe it or not, there's some good stuff buried here under all the trash. Megumin has always been a character to talk herself up. up. She's always trying to get everyone around her to fear her and respect her. But every once in a while, that little facade slips and we see her as the naive child she really is. And that's something I really like about this episode. We get to see Megumin's true colors. Not just in a single line or fleeting glimpse, but through the entire half of this episode. When the ghosts start terrorizing her, she immediately runs to her friends for help. She acts like a scared little kid in this episode, far different than how she usually does. But it actually works because the show took the proper time to subtly characterize her in previous episodes. Konosuba, I'm genuinely so proud of you! After she gets paired up with Kazuma, the episode shows that Megumin genuinely cares for and respects Kazuma, and sees him as a real friend that she trusts. She's so scared of all the ghosts that she panics and tries to cling as close to Kazuma as she can. I only wish this episode leaned into the aspect way more. Maybe after the dust settles, Megumin could be embarrassed by her cowardice, but Kazuma gives her a little talk to make her feel better. Megumin could take this to heart and become braver, which would pay off in some future episode. Kazuma himself had great character development this episode. He comes up with the plan to protect Megumin despite possibly dooming himself, which is a huge but believable contrast to his episode 1 counterpart. Earlier, he even casually mentions to himself that Aqua is a powerful and capable archpriest. That's some real subtle growth right there. And like I said, Aqua is a lot better this episode too, being way more mean and abrasive instead of whatever she was doing last episode. Her whole thing with Wiz gave her so much more of a purpose and made her so much more fun to watch. This episode had so much potential, as it's probably the strongest one yet for the characters. But between the rushed plot, lack of focus, wasted time, and I think you know what else, it ended up being yet another bad episode for the pile. But Samus is pretty much written out of the episode. She has like 3 lines, fucking good, 10 out of 10. But I can't just leave it there. I shouldn't dish out criticism without offering a way to fix it. So here we go, start taking notes. To make episode 8 infinitely better, here's what you can do instead. Make last episode, episode 7, about the gang clearing out the graveyard. Yes, that's right, we completely scrap everything from the original episode 7 because none of it is important. The only element of that episode I could ever see coming back later would be Kazuma meeting Arceus, which we can still easily keep. So here's what happens. In episode 7, the group is hired to clear out the graveyard. This is where Wiz gets a proper introduction and they do their thing. Then, near the end of the episode, we can have Kazuma sacrifice himself, die, meet Arceus, and then be brought back because of his selfless act. Strangely, however, when Kazuma wakes back up, all the ghosts are gone. Aqua tells Kazuma that they got rid of all the ghosts after his death. Megumin tries to object, but Aqua shuts her down. See, by having Aqua cast the ghosts away while Kazuma is dead, it for one makes more sense why he wouldn't know where the ghosts went, but also allows for the twist to be revealed at the end of episode 8. So Kazuma just brushes it off and they go to submit their quest. And in return for doing it, they are then rewarded with the mansion. And this is where we have episode 7 end. See, the entire first third of episode 8 is also filler. So instead of having everyone move in halfway into the episode, yes, that's really how long it takes, we instead open with them moving in. They get acquainted with the place and explore around, all while subtly spooky things start to happen to the characters. This way, the tension of the ghosts in the house actually gets to build. And then on their first night, all the scary stuff happens. And I think at this point, most of episode 8 can stay. Well, all except for the pissing stuff, that is. I'm getting tired, man.
Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth. I'm feeling romantical.
Okay, episode 9. I hate this show. Why do I watch this? With every episode, Konosuba is becoming more and more irredeemable, and that truly reaches its pinnacle here. Never in my life have I watched a piece of media so shockingly awful in every way. I just want to get into this one as soon as possible, so it can be over with sooner. Yo, how'd she take 2 pieces in 1 turn? What the fuck are we doing here? The episode opens up with them in the mansion. They live there now, remember? I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. I zoned out too. It's immediately noticeable that the animation in this episode looks off. For all the shit I give this show, the animation is the one thing that's consistently really good. That and the music, of course. But now the characters get off model, they move weirdly, and Samus just doesn't look like Samus anymore. And I'll go ahead and point out the elephant in the room. The girls have a lot of velocity. Makes me realize how much the show was holding back before. I'm so sorry, Guild Lady, you don't seem so bad anymore. At first, I thought that the dip in quality was due to the episode being animated by a different studio, so the main guys could work on the much bigger season finale. But apparently no. Episode 9 was animated by the same crew as the previous 8 episodes. There actually is kind of a reason why this episode looks the way it does, but I'll save that until after the review because it'll force me to get into some spoiler territory. Anyway, back to the episode. Who are these fuckers? Mom, Konosuba's introducing new characters off screen again. Come on, guys, you can't be introducing this many characters off screen. I get that there probably wasn't enough time to fit the introductions of all the manga's characters into the season, but this is also an adaptation of the manga, so adapt it to not be shit. These guys don't even do anything in this episode, just fucking cut them out, they had nothing.
There's a shop down there run by succubi, and they'll give you the hottest, kinkiest dreams you ever had.
Oh my god, this episode's gonna be awful. You guys remember when this was a fun little adventure? I hope you like looking at blurred footage because there is no way I can show you any of this. This scene is so overly sexual, it's almost funny. Almost. The two show Kazuma a store in town that's run by succubus. To make a long story short, these succubi have a mutual relationship with humans where the succubi give humans vivid, personalized dreams, and in return, they take some of the humans' energy or something. I don't know, I was a little distracted. Kazuma is interested in getting a dream, so he starts talking with one of the succubi, and she tells him all the juicy details about how fucking weird the rest of this episode is about to be. With every episode, Konosuba is becoming more and more like a, God, I wish that were me kind of show. I wish I could show you guys the shit that goes on in this scene because it is genuinely fucking ridiculous. It is legitimately astonishing what they show. It blurs the line between anime and straight up porn, including showing borderline CP on screen. I can't believe that sentence is now on my permanent record. You guys want to take a break or something? Okay, let's start this back up again. Where we last left Kazuma, he's asking the succubus if there's an age restriction on the dream. How about we take another break? Okay, if it was just like one line that they immediately brushed past, then okay, maybe that could have been a little funny. But they just have this bit go on for like 30 seconds straight to the point where it's not even a joke anymore. And to make matters worse, this is what sells him on having the dream. Our main character, everyone. This is the penultimate episode of this season. Wouldn't they rather set up whatever threat they have for the finale? Oh, but no, Sex Dungeon's a lot better. Definitely what I came here for too. Kazuma reserves his dream and he goes home to have dinner with the squad. Damn, they must have had some bills to pay too. Actually though, this whole scene with everyone sitting around the table laughing and eating is honestly really wholesome. Aqua brings out this super fancy wine, but Kazuma stops himself from drinking any. According to the succubus, being drunk will affect the succubi's ability to give him the dream, meaning that he must stay sober if he wants to be a degenerate. Oh well, more for the other three, I guess.
Please give me a little sip. It won't hurt me or anything. You are still a child. Do you want your life to end up in the gutter?
What? You're telling me that Megumin is actually a child? All this time, I thought it was a joke. I really did. I thought that this whole show, whenever they called Megumin a kid, was just to make fun of how short she was. But no, she's really underage. Can you think of a scene that's somehow even worse now? I understand that this is a fantasy world and the legal drinking age is likely much different to real life, but episode 1 pretty explicitly states that Kazuma is in high school, and if he's allowed to drink and Megumin isn't, what does that tell you? And yeah, I'm sure that the manga or creator said she was of age at some point, but f off with that shit. I have always held the belief that when looking at the continuity of a piece of media, the only thing that should actually matter is the media itself, not anything outside of it. The reason why I'm so adamant about this is a story for another day. But bottom line, looking at only the subtext of this very show, the only thing that should matter, it is strongly implied that Megumin is underage. And I don't want to hear any of this, oh, in season 3, it's actually revealed that she's 10,000 years old and you're a pedophile.
She won't let me have a drink. She says I'm too young. Oh,
I am sorry, but the legal...
I knew that door had a lock on it!
Anyway, Kazuma goes to bed early, ready for the dream to start. But unable to sleep, he decides to head over to the bathhouse. It's not long until he falls asleep and it looks like the dream has started.
What a gorgeous moon.
Hey.
I'm killing myself tomorrow.
There is little I can say about the following scene. It is truly something to behold. Samus walks into the room and Kazuma assumes the dream has started. And I'm sorry to inform you, but this is in fact not the dream.
I wonder if the succubus enhanced her to suit my taste more.
Oh, and it's all over the screen. Without going into too much detail, Kazuma demands that Samus bathe him, with Samus being scared and confused. You heard that right. They make Samus completely out of character solely to make this scene more horrific. Let's be fucking real for a minute here. With everything Samus has done over the course of this show, she would absolutely be all over this shit. But instead, she's all cowering and crying, and they even point this out themselves. They didn't care in the slightest. And this scene just goes on for minutes on end, and if you really want to see this, just watch hentai. It's said that Kazuma didn't specifically request Samus for his dream, which I guess makes it a little better, but come on, you didn't have to do this. But before things can get bleach-chugging levels of bad, Aqua calls out from the other room, having successfully caught the succubus that was coming for Kazuma's dream. Aqua says the word hussy here, and you know what, maybe this show could be worse. Aqua and Megumin want to kill the succubus for trespassing, but Kazuma wants to protect her, which is admirable, I guess. But then tensions start rising to where they're all about to fight over this, which I just find kinda strange. But Kazuma loses the 3v1 and the succubus gets away. Cut to the next day. So at this point, everyone just thinks that Kazuma's strange actions were due to him being charmed by the succubus. And Kazuma hears about this and just rolls with it. Samus questions him again, but he sticks to his story.
No, I don't remember any of that stuff.
Well, 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 Kazuma, you sly dog. It looks like you just got yourself out of any and all consequences. You can probably guess where this is going. For literally no reason, Kazuma starts to blame Samus for everything that happened, and in the process begins to reveal details to the event that he just claimed he didn't remember. Absolute fucking mastermind of a human being. Oh wow, it looks like they do set up the villain for next episode. In the final 2 seconds. Episode over, thank God, I was about to flatline. So, let's talk about that. This episode is atrocious, no other way to put it. Everything from the idea to the execution is hell incarnate. It presents every big problem the show has up to this point in the most exaggerated way possible. The pacing, the random character changes, the fan service, and to top it all off, it doesn't even look good. This show has bad planning skills. Both episodes 7 and 9 accomplish almost nothing in the grand scheme of things. Previous episodes, while not groundbreaking every time, always found a way to service the overarching plot in some way. Episode 1, of course, started the show. Episode 2 introduced Megumin. 3 brought in Samus. 4 made Kazuma and Megumin friends. 5 introduced John and maybe had Aqua development. 6 defeated a previous established enemy. And 8 gave the team a place to live. I'm not against the idea of an episode being more chill and not necessarily forwarding the story. But with what this episode chooses to do makes it feel less like a chill break and more like wasting time. At this point, you've probably started to notice how common it is for women in this show to get physically degraded. Like, it was fine in episode 2 when Aqua and Megumin were covered in slime. On its own, it's not really that weird, but it's also used as an important plotline within the episode, being the way that Megumin gets into the party. I can't say the same for this episode. What plot relevance does this possibly serve? Does it forward the story? Contribute to a character arc? Well, now you're being silly. You can't expect them to do that. Anything in this episode relating to the succubus stuff, which is about 95% of the episode, is downright awful and should never have been made. But that doesn't mean this couldn't have worked. You guys are gonna kill me for this, but this idea could actually make a really interesting episode. Just subvert the trope of Kazuma being a horny bastard. That's like Konosuba's whole thing. It's supposed to be a fucking subversion. This could have been a really strong character episode for both Kazuma and Samus if handled correctly. But let's be honest, the best course of action is just to completely scrap it. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. If this episode absolutely needed to have this premise, here's what I think would make it better. During the dinner scene, everyone is eating, drinking, and having the time of their lives having fun. But Kazuma ignores all of it because he's so focused on the dream. He sacrifices a fun night with his friends for a quick pleasure. The whole reason he died in the first place is because he wanted to be a hero for a cute girl, and he objectifies women the whole episode. This succubus thing could be the moment where he takes a look at himself and realizes how wrong what he's doing is. He realizes what's truly important. But in the actual episode, the only internal conflict he has is played off for a joke. At no point does he ever seriously consider that the fun night in front of him could be more important than a temporary feeling. I understand that what I'm offering is kind of a cookie cutter plot, but you gotta admit, it's better than what we actually got. Maybe when we get to the bath scene and Kazuma sees Samus about to walk in, he's about to do his whole thing when he remembers how happy and innocent she was during dinner. And he decides that even though it's a harmless dream, he doesn't feel right about sexualizing his friend. So he walks away a decent person. And then Samus is like, oh wait, I don't like being sexual all the time. And then they write her off the show. Konosuba's animation was directed by two people, Momoko Komatsu, who handled the even-numbered episodes, and Koichi Kikuta, who handled the odd-numbered episodes, including this one. And I know what you're thinking, but hey, if this guy also did episodes 1, 3, 5, and 7, why don't they look like complete shit? I'm glad you asked. I looked around, and I came across this interview Kikuta did with an anime news site around the time Season 2 started to air. And let's just say it didn't take me long to find our answer. Kikuta isn't just an animation director, he's also a character designer. In fact, he was the one who adapted the manga characters into the iconic designs we know today. But this also means that whenever there's a new character in one of his episodes, he's the one who designs them. I'm of course referring to the succubi. I know you can't tell because I blurred everything, but every succubi is very well endowed to say the least. A good chunk of this interview is actually centered around the decisions Kikuta made for episode 9, and he is more than happy to answer every question thrown at him. See, Kikuta is a very perverted guy, and as we all know, episode 9 is a very sexual episode. This is a match made in hell. According to the man himself, the episode's plot and concept was just so hot that he couldn't keep it in his pants. He initially didn't want to make the episode so fan service driven, but was later quote unquote motivated after learning what the episode was about. He had to have the succubi wear so few clothes. He had to have the girl's boobs move with every slight movement. And that's not even me reading between the lines. He was looking at porn when he was designing the characters.
Never mind, dude. I completely fucking misread that. It's still kind of bad though.
And after he designed the succubi, he couldn't stop himself when he got to Samus. The original episode even had way more censorship with the amount of steam that was on screen in the bathhouse. But Kikuta would later specifically request that they show more skin. 32-year-old man, by the way.
Wait, is this his Twitter? What the fuck?
And if that wasn't enough to get you to dislike this guy, he's also a giant hack! At one point in the interview, he says that the jiggle physics weren't about realism and it was just him being a sick fuck, but he later claims that he does aim for boob realism when it comes to the interviewer complimenting him for it. The hell's wrong with this guy? He doesn't explicitly state it, but the answer's pretty clear to me. The reason why episode 9 looks so bad, the reason why characters get so off model, the reason the animation moves so weirdly, the reason why this episode sticks out like a sore thumb amongst a season of decently animated handcrafted animation is because Kikuta spent so long animating boobs that they didn't have enough time for everything else. Truly, this man was perfect for this show. Season finale, everybody! So this is what it feels like to leave Purgatory. As previously mentioned, the Destroyer, a rogue mobile fortress, is barreling towards the town ready to destroy it. Like always, the adventurers all gear up and get ready to fight. Except, John is noticeably missing. Oh, well, maybe they're saving his inclusion for a surprise later in the episode. Tell me, what's the point of introducing a character just to write him out every episode? Oh my gosh, Wiz, a totally real character. Wiz offers to help in the destruction of the thing, and Kazuma workshops a quick plan. If Wiz and Aqua can combine their powers to blast through the Destroyer's magic barrier, then Megumin will be able to finish the thing off with an explosion.
Alright everyone, the emergency quest will now begin!
Absolutely no reason to be doing all that. The Destroyer approaches, and I quite like this thing's design. Something about having a big CGI monster in a 2D animated show is always gonna look cool. As the townsfolk begin to set up a fucking something, I don't know, it never comes back later, Samus and Kazuma walk away from the others. This is where Samus reveals to Kazuma that her family actually governs their town and is absolutely loaded.
Here comes the money!
Okay, sure. I don't know why Kazuma and Aqua have been fighting for survival this whole time when Samus is actually just rich. I mean, even if Samus is adamant on making her life her own or something, she still went to go see her parents for a few months in episode 4, and accepted their housewarming gifts just yesterday. Couldn't have spotted them a few dollars for a hotel, maybe? I genuinely think that the writers didn't have a plan for this season and just went one episode at a time without ever daring to look ahead. Which is quite perplexing considering there's a whole manga series to go off of. This is meant to be a big emotional climax, not that kind, between Kazuma and Samus, but I don't buy it. They should have tension after everything that happened last episode. Oh, wait, I forgot. Nothing in this show actually matters, and that was all just for fan service and shock value. Thanks, writers! Guys, look, if you really wanted to have this whole succubus thing happen, it needs to define Kazuma and Samus's relationship at this point. Kazuma literally committed a felony against Samus here. It would make a lot of sense for Samus's opinions and reactions to change while she's around him. I'm not saying that I necessarily want this plotline to go on any further, but the writers made their bed, and I'm gonna be damned if they don't fucking lie in it! As the Destroyer approaches, Aqua begins her attack. And you know what? This sequence is actually really fucking good. They play the show's banging intro music as the girls cast their spell, and just take a look, man. This is undeniably awesome. The colors, the lights, just the weight that their spells have against their target. It all combines together to create something that can only be described as hype and aura in the best way possible. This makes episode 9 looking terrible completely worth it. Holy shit, now that is a fucking thumbnail moment. Oh my god. This moment right here is one of, if not the single greatest moment in the entire show if it didn't give me more to complain about. What the fuck is this attack that Aqua's doing? Megumin's whole thing is that she's the one-time heavy hitter. She gets one super powerful attack and then is out for the day. Having Aqua pull off something even half as powerful and still having plenty of magic to do it again later completely ruins Megumin's gimmick. How do you possibly fuck up this hard to make one of your own characters functionally unnecessary? Either way, the plan works and Samus almost dies despite doing nothing. Yes! Oh wait, almost? The day is saved! Everyone starts celebrating the victory, but Kazuma starts getting everyone to shut up. This is because he somehow knows that being too loud around the Destroyer would cause it to self-destruct. And it does. Yeah, no, I'm just as confused as you are. Haha, yes! My wonderful creation is almost complete. Soon, nothing will stand in the way of our empire. Nice, but what happens if someone defeats it? It should never be defeated, but if it does, I will set it to self-destruct to ensure the enemy also dies. Oh, okay, that's actually pretty smart. But only if they're loud after defeating it. What? What the fuck? The title card shattering is cool, but it's not gonna make me forget the grade A bullshit this show just pulled off. Samus finally remembers that she's a masochist again and gushes over the thought of taking the force of the explosion. I don't know, I feel like there's a bit of a difference between being masochistic and being suicidal. Samus, you realize that if this thing blows up, you're not gonna feel anything, you're just gonna be fucking atomized. That's not how masochism works.
She's trying to save the town! I'm gonna go with her! I owe my life to this town and its people!
I'm past level 30, so I should have left here ages ago. But now I remember why I stayed in this town of beginning adventurers.
You know, I love the constant sex in this show. Not only is it few and far between, allowing for a greater impact upon its return, but is also very fitting into the show's core themes and ideas. The team goes inside the Destroyer and locates the yttrium powering the machine. This right here is what's about to explode. Wiz realizes that she can teleport the mineral away and save everyone. Just one problem, she's all out of mana. She asks Kazuma for a simple request.
Sure. What is it?
$100 this turns into a weird sex thing.
Would you please let me suck it out?
Absolutely.
Okay, that was good. That was good. It works, and Wiz randomly teleports the yttrium away, and the day is saved. Again. Oh no, but wait. The destroyer is starting to overheat and is about to explode again anyway. Then what the fuck was the point of the yttrium? Konosuba, you are genuinely pissing me off with the amount of time you're wasting for no reason right now. Just cut out the middleman. This is the most annoying way you could ever do anything ever. But it's okay, because after some magic transfer that goes on for too long, Megumin explodes the destroyer to stop it from exploding. Okay. And now, for the third and final time, the day is saved. This episode could have been like half the length. Rest assured, the day is actually saved this time, and Kazuma and his party are once again celebrated as heroes of the town. As the episode comes to a close, Kazuma begins another one of his iconic monologues, surely wrapping up an entire season of adventures in the most satisfying way possible.
And with that, our battle with the mobile fortress destroyer was over. This lame world, which, by the way, is nothing like the kick-ass world of adventure I hoped for, was safe. I got myself a party, even though everyone's hopeless. I got myself a rad house too, instead of those damn freezing stables. Life here sure hasn't been easy on me. But the way I see it, everything that happened was good, because it made me grow as a person.
This made you grow as a person, huh? Grow as a person. In what fucking way have you grown? Because it seems to me like nothing's changed. In this very monologue, Kazuma restates the same exact opinions he had at the start of the season. The new world sucks, he wishes he was cooler, and his party is useless. Let that last one sink in. After all this time, Kazuma still hates these three. Despite how much everyone seems to care about him, Kazuma, after everything, still calls them weak, pathetic losers. He has not grown. Every single connection he made throughout this show means nothing to him. Not helping Megumin train, not empathizing with Aqua, not being trusted by Samus, not the friendships he built with the town, not the praise he received from his citizens, not the heroism he's achieved, not the guild or the adventures or the second chance, or even him returning to a grateful party after he died. None of that, absolutely none of it left any sort of imprint on Kazuma's mind. He is still the same exact person he was at the start of the show. Despite all the development that Kazuma went through, even if it was poorly written, was ultimately pointless. Oh, but come on, maybe he really does care and he's just lying to himself here. That's bad too! This is a monologue. It should absolutely be showing Kazuma's true feelings. But no! Aqua, Megumin, and Samus are still just useless burdens he's forced to lug around. Not friends, not family, just burdens. He still hates his home, he still hates his friends, and he absolutely still hates his life. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm just imagining things, but wasn't the point of the entire show to break Kazuma out of his lonely, aimless, perverted shell and turn him into a hero? Someone worth being? And to make matters worse, that line made me grow as a person. The show so desperately wants to hold on to this status quo, but it just couldn't help but pretend that their main character actually changed at all. He could have changed, very easily I might add, but they didn't let him. They kept him the same exact shut-in-neat he was at the start of episode 1, if not even worse. And then it just does this shit where it tells the viewers about the character arc instead of actually, I don't know, doing the fucking character arc? This show is so frustrating with how close it gets to having genuinely deep, interesting characters. So to have these messages be so prominently stated at the end of the episode is just a slap in the face to the idea that this show could be anything amazing. But it absolutely could be. I want to like this story. I want to like these characters. I really, really want to like Konosuba. But they gave it all up. And for what? A goddamn panty shot, that's what. Unbeknownst to me 10 minutes ago, this isn't quite the end of Season 1 of Konosuba. There's also a secret bonus episode which, if I'm not mistaken, was an exclusive to certain DVD re-releases as some sort of tie-in with the manga. I didn't know that this existed until fairly recently, and before making this video, I already misremembered the season being 8 episodes long. So needless to say, I wasn't exactly counting on reviewing this many episodes today. So for the sake of time and my own sanity, we're gonna make this one quick. The gang goes to Wiz's shop and a new character named Union shows up. Oh my god. She's Megumin's self-proclaimed rival and is incessantly annoying.
I am not self-proclaimed! Yes, I am! And you're mine, darn it!
This character is 2 lines in and I already want to see her dead on the street. Kazuma finds a choker Wiz is selling and puts it on. Wiz is suddenly very scared and explains what it does. When the wearer puts on a choker, they make a wish, and the choker won't allow itself to be removed until the wearer fulfills the wish themselves, with the choker growing tighter every day until it's done. I don't get it. It's like the Meeseeks from Rick and Morty. Bingo! This is actually a really interesting concept for a magical item, and you could probably figure out where the story is going from here. Kazuma doesn't know what his wish was when he put on the choker, so in order to save his life, the party has to try random things in hopes that something works. Kazuma then takes the opportunity to abuse his power and get the girls to do whatever he wants. And yes, he does exactly what you'd expect. In case you're too innocent to figure it out, let's just say that this episode puts episode 9 to shame. Jokes aside, that is the shittiest push-up form I've ever seen. Oh my gosh. Worst part about the episode, honestly, makes me mad. Everyone acts like Kazuma has real power over them. They immediately realize that Kazuma's just forcing them to do whatever he wants, but they still carry out his every request. They could just not help him. I'm sure after a day or two of being strangled, he'd wise up real quick. Like, Megumin and Lucky Star over here are flinching in fear when Kazuma talks like they're being physically forced to do what he wants. Union, I don't even know why you're here. No one likes you.
Kill yourself!
The rest of the episode is just unbridled depravity. There are some absolute jaw-dropping scenes in this episode, but if you want to see some real f***ed up shit, go to 1430 in the episode, and just a little reminder, Megumin is a child. At least Kazuma felt bad after threatening sexual assault in episode 5. What is this?
Has the choker come off yet?
I hate to say this, but we'll have to keep making my wishes come true tomorrow, too.
Please kill me.
I like how Aqua is strictly the only character he doesn't do anything sexual with. That's a little funny, I guess. I don't know, guys. I'm trying really hard to find the silver lining here. Throughout the whole episode, Kazuma does his best to reenact Epstein Island, and Union asks Megumin why she keeps helping him. Megumin cites her and Kazuma's journeys in episode 4 as to why she wants to save him so badly. Megumin mentioning that here just makes this so much worse. She and Kazuma did form some kind of friendship back then, a friendship that seemingly means a lot to her. So to have the guy suddenly turn around and perform actual atrocities against her is just disrespectful to both that episode and these characters. They play this sad music as Megumin flashes back to her entire life. How everyone she ever met discarded her as a useless one-trick. Everyone except Kazuma, her first real friend. It's actually a little sad for Megumin to think of Kazuma so highly, just for episode 10 to reveal that he still doesn't consider her a valuable adventurer. Much like so many other things in this season, this moment is phenomenal in a vacuum, but doesn't work in the context of this horrific episode. What the fuck? This episode actually has a pretty wholesome ending where Kazuma gives up on life and everyone gathers around him in a bittersweet acceptance of death. Oh, sorry to break the tension, but we already know that Aqua can just revive him. And Kazuma dying isn't even a new concept for the show. In his final moments, Kazuma apologizes for sexualizing everyone here all the time. Like, wow, he really goes into detail here. After being comforted, the choker falls off, that being his wish. But everyone is so mad at him that they actually just kill him right then and there, no joke. The sudden cut to Eris is genuinely so funny, but that just makes the entire episode pointless. I could really dig into this episode and try to rewrite it like I did with some of the others, but I just don't think it's worth it because let's face it, this episode isn't canon. Kazuma only got revived the first time because Eris allowed it, and something tells me that maybe she wouldn't let that slide this time. If it counts, this is definitely the worst episode of the season. For all of episode 9's faults, at least it was, well, at least it was better. I'm sure this is like the best episode ever if you're really into objectifying women, but I just couldn't get into it. I think that we as a society should forget this episode ever happened and with that, the season comes to a close. Now let's talk about these fucking characters! Okay, we're gonna start off with our worst and least important member of the main crew here, Samus. Samus is... well, there's no other way to put it. Samus is a bad character. Look, I know we need to have her ensemble cast and all, but this character is just so unnecessary. Not only does she not fit in the current dynamic with the other three, but she also single-handedly brings down the whole show. But wait, the dynamic is that Kazuma is stuck with a bunch of people he doesn't like. Doesn't Samus and her personality contribute a lot to that? Yes, that's true. Samus being as annoying as she is great for making Kazuma dislike his party even more. However, the important part of this dynamic is that Kazuma eventually learns to appreciate his party after they all go through some sort of development. But Samus can't go through any development because her gimmick doesn't allow for it. She's not meant to be some tragic depiction of a real-life sex addict. There's no deeper elements of her character to delve into. That is unless you want to get into why she likes being vored, which, you know, it doesn't seem like the most fun time to me. In this sense, the only purpose she really serves outside of fan service is just adding a number to Kazuma's list of annoying, useless women. Megumin and Aqua are a subversion of their own. Megumin is the all-powerful mage that carries the group, but turns out she's actually a glass cannon. Aqua being by Kazuma's side since the start implies some sort of future romance, but no, she fucking hates the guy. But with Samus, the subversion is that they're not even trying to hide the fact that she's the dedicated Rule 34 character of the show. Her entire purpose in this show is just to be sexualized and ogled at, and personally, I find that disrespectful to women. Here's the thing, right? Aqua, Kazuma, and Megumin all have distinct personalities. They each function as a unique character with strengths, weaknesses, opinions, fears, relationships, etc. But with Samus, there's genuinely nothing to her. She's purely a one-note joke character, and one that I feel doesn't fit in at all with the other characters. Every single conversation the group has, she has nothing of value to add ever. She has no relationship with anyone, she's just there to be there. There's a unique relationship between Kazuma and Aqua, Kazuma and Megumin, and even Megumin and Aqua to an extent. But Samus has no relationship, no unique dynamic with anyone. She is locked away on her own little island far away from the other three who actually do stuff together. Samus isn't just annoying, she's completely worthless in the narrative sense. Writing her out of this show would only improve it in almost every single way. Never in my life have I seen a main character of a show be so completely, utterly worthless in every regard. F tier. I think honestly though, the worst part about Samus is how much of a pace breaker she is. Episodes like 4, 6, and 7 have Samus do her little song and dance multiple times over and it's never funny. That's multiple minutes of screen time being taken up by the same joke over and over again with no change. I wouldn't even be surprised if they repeated one of her bits word for word at some point. It's that repetitive. And before you say anything, I totally get that Japanese humor is way different than American humor, but... well, shut up, you're ruining my argument. An easy way to make Samus infinitely funnier, in my opinion, is just to have her make short quips instead of minute-long rants. You guys are gonna laugh, but I think Samus is very comparable to the gay guy from the first Scary Movie. Think about it. Both of these guys are extremely simple characters that basically boil down to, I like having sex. But what makes the Scary Movie guy so funny is that he's so subtle most of the time. In a regular conversation, he'll have a quick line, and then the movie immediately moves on like nothing happened.
We already committed murder. We might as well rob his ass.
I'll take the credit cards.
I want the jewelry.
I'm gonna take his drawers.
See, it's just little jokes here and there that catch you off guard and make him such a funny character. But you know what would make him unfunny? If every 15 minutes the movie stops what it's doing so he can go on a rant about how much he loves fucking dudes. To prove my point, the following is every Samus joke in Season 1 of Konosuba that I found at least moderately funny.
Unfortunately, no. It only attracts beast-type monsters. The scent makes them attack the wearer, one right after the other, without a break.
Perfect! I shall take it!
Let go of me, you degenerate!
Your words hit like hammers!
I think Megumin is the only one worth saving. In my opinion, she's the most interesting character out of the big 3.5. That being because she has some emotional depth that is actually sort of explored in the show. Most of the complaints I have about Megumin are regarding her relationship with the other characters, but in a vacuum, I think she's probably the most consistently enjoyable character to watch. She's a real joy, and it's cute to see her get excited over explosions and connect with her friends. She's pretty funny, and although she's not immune to them, she is prone to the least amount of sex jokes out of the core cast. Aqua being unattractive is a pretty big joke, but even she can't escape from the unnecessary ass shots.
Damn her!
her just cause she's sorta hot?
Yo, wait, did Aqua fall off? Point is, Megumin's a fun character. She never overstays her welcome, she's a pretty good pairing with Kazuma, she's not a horrible person, and she fits the show very well. Megumin might be the most Konosuba-esque Konosuba character, but that award could really go to anyone depending on how you want to look at it. Yeah, Aqua's got the most porn, she gets grand prize. But going back to what I said before, Megumin is a surprisingly deep character. Out of everyone, Megumin's psyche is explored the most, mostly in episode 8. Here's the thing with Megumin. She's very insecure. Insecure about her height, her frailty, and how young she is. How young she is. She puts on this metaphorical mask of a highly confident, highly skilled adventurer to make herself feel less worthless. When she first meets Kazuma and Aqua, she presents herself as a powerful mage with a big dramatic speech to make herself look more important. She even wears an eye patch just to look cooler. She's really trying, guys, be nice. The whole reason she learns Explosion in the first place is because of how physically small and weak she is. If she can't look formidable, she has to act formidable by learning the strongest, flashiest spell she can. She can't possibly learn any other low-level spells. Those are for weak people, and she isn't weak. She becomes obsessed with the spell because it's exactly what she wants to be. It's big, it draws your attention, and it's a force to be reckoned with. Casting Explosion makes her feel powerful. It makes her happy. You know how when people get addicted to drugs, they start corresponding the good feeling with the physical act of taking the drug even after they become well tolerant to the effects? I think a similar sort of thing is happening here. The idea of Megumin feeling good about herself starts to become synonymous with using Explosion. This is why she's so obsessed with it in the show. I mean, she literally falls into self-destructive tendencies with how she keeps attacking the castle even after she knows it could kill people. And Aqua was fucking enabling her. What a bad friend.
Unforgivable.
Every time Megumin is around anyone else, she always keeps on this mask, like she's trying to convince everyone, including herself, that she's strong. Hell, she even wanted to fight a one-shot bear just to prove her strength. She gets upset when Kazuma calls her kiddo, not because she doesn't like the name, but because it means that Kazuma sees her as inferior. She desperately wants to be perceived as someone strong and important. She never lets her guard down and always plays the part as the fearless adventurer. But that was before Kazuma came along. Something really interesting to me is how strong of a connection Megumin makes with Kazuma. After the two spend a few weeks together walking back and forth to the castle, Megumin starts to look up to Kazuma. She looks for his approval and gets upset when he says that an explosion isn't up to par. She calls him sir. It's almost like she sees him as a type of mentor, someone to look up to. Maybe it has something to do with how shameless Kazuma is. He never seems to care what other people think of him. Something we've seen Megumin struggle with. I think it starts in episode 3 when Kazuma shows even the slightest interest in learning Explosion for himself. And of course, the whole training montage showed her that he not only cares about the spell, but also her. I really like this 2-second shot in the montage of the two playing a game or something. It's such a tiny detail, but it makes the relationship feel so much more real. I really wish we got to see the two joke around together after this. Anyway, after everything, Megumin starts to feel a lot more comfortable around Kazuma. Enough to where she unintentionally lets her guard down the next episode. After Kazuma points out how chill she is, she hastily goes back to glazing her explosion spell. She seems to have a lot of trust in Kazuma and is by far the happiest when he comes back to life in episode 7. Still not over the whole bashing her skull in thing, but this leads us up to episode 8. We've talked a lot about Megumin's mask and how much it means to her to keep it up. But what episode 8 does is force that mask to break by putting Megumin in a situation where she's completely helpless. After being spooked by the ghosts, Megumin runs to Aqua's room in order to find help, only to find an empty room. Look at the way she's staring off here. She's terrified. And rightfully so. I wouldn't want to be in the piss episode either. Unlike pretty much every other situation thus far, Explosion flat out cannot help her. She has no way to actually fight back since Explosion would surely kill her and everyone else in the building. She even later gets so stirred up that she starts casting the spell out of pure panic. It's pretty clear that Megumin puts a lot of trust into her friends. Initially, Megumin wasn't even terrorized by the ghost or anything. She just saw one and wanted Aqua to walk her down the hall to the bathroom. But of course, Aqua isn't there, which only makes her more anxious. Luckily, Kazuma walks in and saves her from being alone. Megumin is so scared of the ghost that she literally clings onto Kazuma, not wanting to let go. She is putting all of her faith into Kazuma protecting her here. I'm sure that for multiple reasons, this was an absolutely horrifying night for Megumin. I mean, the ghosts are one thing, but I think the more painful aspect is that she's exposed her true self to Kazuma. She spent so long painting this picture of her being confident and fearless only for her persona to completely crumble in front of him. Deep down, Megumin knows that she really is just as weak and cowardly as she thinks she is. So having one of her closest friends see this side of her was probably life-shattering. Every little negative aspect, every little insecurity she has was laid out before Kazuma to see, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. And that's what the mask is. That's what the point of the mask is. I really wish this episode focused more on Kazuma and Megumin's relationship. Kazuma barely even reacts to Megumin's change in character. Which of course, yeah, this is a very tense moment, but even after everything's said and done, they just completely brush by it. I think that's so weird considering that Megumin is living a lie that's stopping her from making deeper connections with her friends. After all, it was Megumin's arrogance that almost got Samus killed back in episode 4. Constantly putting on this mask clearly isn't good for her or the team. I think it would be nice if after the episode winds down, Megumin tries to talk to Kazuma about how she was acting. Maybe she'd ask him to just forget it ever happened. But then Kazuma could be like, "Oh come on Megumin, we're friends, you don't have to hold back what's on your mind. Get real, the world is beautiful, I think I feel a song coming on." We've seen Megumin let her guard down a little bit in episode 5 after being more comfortable around Kazuma, so maybe this episode could see her dropping it entirely when they're alone. But then this could get paid off in episode 10 where she's initially all scared, but then her practice of being confident finally comes into use, showing that there's a good balance Megumin needs to reach between these two extremes. Megumin's dynamic with Kazuma is really fun at times, but there's a few too many instances of Kazuma doing a random 180 and hating her for my liking. When they're chill, they're a joy to watch, even if it's the world's most mundane dialogue. And when they aren't, it sucks. These characters are way better just being friends. I wish her relationship with Aqua was fleshed out more. Aqua just getting Megumin in episode 2 was pretty funny, and I feel like there's grounds for exploration there. That's not to mention that both characters can be pretty immature at times. I'm a little surprised Megumin wasn't more into Aqua's party tricks or those little flowers she made that one time.
Look at what I made! Isn't it beautiful?
It sure is, kid. It sure is. Notice how Samus and Megumin have not had a single notable interaction. Fuck this character. I really like Megumin. Her complexity, combined with being a genuinely really fun character to watch, makes her one of the best in the show. And I'd be happy to see her again in Season 2. A tier. And yeah, she's 14. You know, for being the secondary main character and the catalyst for the entire show to happen in the first place, Aqua sure seems to get the shaft a lot. Think about it. She's pretty important in episodes 1 and 2, but 3, 4, 8, and 9 feature very little Aqua content, if any. I think the only episodes of the show that are explicitly Aqua focused are 1 and 5. And like I said, Aqua is the second most important character in the show, right behind Kazuma. Yet almost immediately after the show starts to introduce new characters, she falls into the background. Looking at just the first episode of the show, what do you think the premise is? Here's what I'd say. After a shut-in loser dies and gets sent to the afterlife, he forcibly brings the goddess who mocked his death alongside him to the new world. Now sent away, this unlikely duo needs to band together in order to survive a fantasy world that's not all it's cracked up to be. See? And that's what makes the show so fun. It's not just Kazuma, but the specific dynamic between him and Aqua. These two people who hate each other being stuck together. But starting with episode 3, that premise I read out starts to apply less and less. And that's all because Kazuma becomes the de facto main character of the show, and I think that's one of the biggest mistakes Konosuba ever made, because it stops being about Kazuma and Aqua figuring out a new world and just becomes Kazuma doing some bullshit every episode. The whole point of the show, this dynamic and this situation, starts to get pushed away as new characters get introduced, to the point where after a few episodes of Aqua being in the background, you kind of forget how fun she was initially. There's this one moment in episode 10 where Aqua runs away from the exploding destroyer, but Kazuma forces her to help and drags her back. I was suddenly taken aback watching that because it felt so similar to something the two would do in episode 1, but something I hadn't actually seen in ages. Aqua is a character that's mostly defined by her ego. She's a goddess, and because of that, naturally sees herself way above any of the earthly lowlifes she meets. Just looking at the way she treats Kazuma after his first death goes to show how inferior she considers humans to be. So you can imagine that it'd be quite the shakeup for her to suddenly be tossed into this new fantasy world. A place where she has no power. A place where she needs to rely on others in order to survive. A place where she's just like all the people she deems lesser. Being stuck here should take her a very long time to get used to. Despite her godly origins, she's the most arrogant and aggressive person in the show. She's very ungodlike, that's like the whole joke. It's something that's shown to us really well in episode 1's montage. She gets so drunk she's throwing up in an alleyway. I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't sound too godly to me. She's objectively a bad person, but completely self-absorbed. She hates that she can't be constantly pampered and spoiled like how she was in the God world. This grimy, dirty, uncivilized fantasy world is the exact opposite of what she's used to, and thus isn't too fond of it. This sets up a pretty straightforward character arc that the show just couldn't seem to get right. Aqua's adjustment to living in the fantasy world is all over the place. Aqua is effectively banned from being a goddess ever again. The only way she could ever go back is by doing the impossible. This is like if Jeff Bezos was suddenly stripped of all his wealth and had to start over living as a level 1 crook. Which is to say that this isn't an easy transition for Aqua. Or at least it shouldn't be, but apparently Aqua is just built different and speedruns an entire decade's worth of adjustment in like a month. I can't stop thinking about how much episode 5 dropped the ball in regards to Aqua's character. It sets itself up so perfectly. The episode starts off with Aqua demanding to live like a goddess again, so she picks a hard quest and we all know what happens from there. Despite the hints at it before, this moment is the true wake-up call that Aqua is not fit for this world. This would be a great place to spark that character arc if it wasn't for everything immediately falling apart right after. So according to this episode, the reason Aqua was so sad isn't because she realized how weak and helpless she was, but because she forgot she was a goddess. Okay. And then she says the iconic line. Literally the worst possible time to have her say that, by the way. That line is the literal antithesis of everything Aqua is in this episode, both before and after the lake incident. In the opening of the episode, Aqua more or less says that she hates living in the New World because she isn't treated like a god. What were they thinking? I appreciate the idea, though. Aqua learning that life is beautiful would be an amazing arc considering how she acted towards it in episode 1. But this whole transformation of opinion flat out isn't focused on. She hates it, she's content, she likes it, all within the span of like 5 episodes. Then after this episode, the show barely brings up Aqua's longing for godhood, even in times where it would really fit. I like to think that Aqua bringing up her godly origins to Wiz was nothing more than a desperate attempt to be respected and feared again. And Aqua bowing down to the Winter Shogun is an insanely ironic moment that definitely should have been explored more, but alas, this show is allergic to interesting ideas. Out of everyone in the party, Aqua should be the most eager to defeat the Devil King. Like I said earlier, Aqua very much values her godhood and the perks that come along with it, so her suddenly being so okay with having none of that seems very out of character. And it's not like she even loses her self-centeredness, this is genuinely just bad writing. Something I noticed when I went to rewatch the season for these character reviews is that Aqua is way more innocent in these first few episodes, ignore that. It's not every time, but some of the insults she throws out at Kazuma seem unintentional. Like she's not necessarily trying to hurt his feelings.
You seem like such an intelligent guy. It's hard to believe you were a nerd with no friends or girlfriends in life. So why'd you spend every day indoors acting like a shut-in neat?
See, Aqua compliments him but then casually calls him a loser nerd like she's stating facts. From some of the things she says, it almost sounds like she's fascinated by Kazuma. Like this is the first time she's interacted with a human this long. Like how she's genuinely shocked that someone like him could know anything about the fantasy world. Or how in episode 3 when she lovingly calls him the great cabbage thief to his dismay. This isn't something she'd do consistently, even in those first couple episodes. It was just something that would pop up from time to time that dwindled out as the season went on. Early Konosuba seemed to have the same problem as late Konosuba with not fully knowing how to characterize Aqua, but in a completely different way. There was a bit of an issue in some of the earlier episodes where Aqua was just way too blissfully ignorant. Episode 1's ending comes to mind. I'd personally rather Aqua be bold and brash than brain dead and bubbly. Luckily, this is one of the few things that actually got a little better as the season went on. Anyway, this brings us back to Aqua's naivety, which as I've said before, is something about her I find really endearing. I think that she's been so spoiled and babied when she was a goddess that she hasn't quite had the chance to mentally mature much, such as learning social skills or having a good haircut. Aqua obsessing over the snow runs she caught was probably the best part of episode 7, but it's weird how she can waver between being somewhat mature and reasonably thinking to a cute little baby innocent child. A lot of the time when Kazuma's unfair to her, she viciously fights back, but other times she just bursts out crying. Now that I think about it, this whole thing makes Kazuma seem even more like a dick for bullying her so much. But I don't want to get too far into Kazuma yet. I'll get to him later. Lastly, I want to mention the power scaling thing again. Whoa, seriously guys? I didn't even want to be mad about it in the first place. You told me to! In episode 1, Aqua directly says that she's a healer, not a fighter. I think this means two things. 1, Aqua is very limited in power, and despite how she may view herself, is actually very weak. And 2, Aqua actively doesn't or can't learn any offensive spells. And later on, when she registers to become an adventurer, she specifically states that she wants to be an archpriest that
heals her allies.
Every sign points to her being the dedicated support of the group, but as we all know, that goes out the window pretty quick. I'll give episode 6 a pass because I'm just gonna assume that those were purification spells that only did any damage because the horseman was undead. But fuck off with that episode 10 shit. This completely throws off the balance of the group. Aqua's way too OP to the point where she doesn't need Megumin or especially Samus anymore. I mean, just ditch him, that's what I'd do. I'd still say keep Kazuma though because Aqua is a genuine idiot. And like, wasn't her whole bit in episode 2 that she couldn't attack for shit? I know it's not a huge problem and I know it's just one scene, but Aqua being a goddess already outclasses everyone else on the team, so getting rid of her nerf is kinda... what's the word? Fucking stupid. Overall, I do like Aqua. Despite the running theme of not knowing how the hell to characterize her, when the show actually decides to have her do something that's not making her a punching bag, she's really funny. Aqua as a character is very strong when done right, but unfortunately for her, the show she's in doesn't know how to do that consistently. She starts off good, starts to fall off towards the middle, but ends relatively solid, cementing herself as one of the least shit characters in the show. And for that, I award her with my highest score, B tier. Oh, come on, Aqua, don't look at me like that. Oh, alright, I guess I could bump you up to A tier, you little rascal. Okay, let's see here, where'd she go? Oh, there she is. A tier, right where she belongs. And that leaves us with the man of the hour, Kazuma. Oh, that's what the K stands for. Oh, Kazuma. Kazuma, Kazuma, Kazuma. What can I say about a character like him? Well, over everyone else in the show, Kazuma suffered the most from flanderization. Aqua wavered a bit, Megumin was consistent, and Samus was always bad. But the Kazuma at the start of the show is much different from the one at the end. He becomes so much meaner, more bitter, more unapologetically evil. He's a narcissist, constantly taking out his frustrations on his supposed friends. He's a painful character to watch, and that's just not who he was initially. At the start of the show, Kazuma was just a normal guy. He got frustrated, sure, even lost his temper a few times, but he was still a normal person. A down on his luck loser that just wanted things to go right. One of the biggest differences between episode 1 Kazuma and his later iterations is how much happier he seems when he gets sent to the fantasy world. Through a few lines of dialogue, it's implied that Kazuma hated his old life. He had no friends, his family didn't care about him, and he wasted days on end in a dark room in front of a screen. And once he gets over his death, he doesn't seem all too sad about leaving Earth behind. Once he's in the fantasy world, he talks about how happy he is to finally break out of his shell, and more importantly, become a hero. This is good for him. It's also important to note how normally Kazuma acts in these first few episodes. When he meets and then doesn't like both Megumin and Samus, he tries to let them off easy and be polite. Even when he's actively trying to pull Megumin off his back, he's still not saying anything mean. Episode 10 Kazuma would probably shove her off and kick her while she's down. Later episodes seem to keep Kazuma in a constant state of misery. He's rarely ever content, there's always something for him to be annoyed at. But he has so much more emotion here, like how he's optimistic about the quest or how he buys Megumin a meal out of the kindness of his heart. Even little things like him getting flustered over Samus makes him so much more real. I already talked about this in the Aqua segment, so I'll try not to overlap. But Aqua and Kazuma are so much more fun early on. For starters, the two aren't completely resentful about their situation. Despite Aqua's insults and entitlement, Kazuma actually seems pretty happy to work with her. Like, he happily invites her to follow him into the guild and become adventurers. He never once considers ditching her, even after realizing her faults. Aqua's casual insults do wear him down a bit, but that doesn't stop him from wanting to help her or feeling sorry for her when she gets upset. At the very least, they're both happy to not be alone. To have someone with them that's just as much of a stranger to this world as they are. Don't get me wrong, Kazuma never loved Aqua, and he definitely got frustrated back then too. But when he did, it always felt justified because his emotions weren't so exaggerated. In both episodes 2 and 7, Kazuma calls Aqua useless. But in episode 2, it's more like, ugh, Aqua didn't even do anything against the frogs. She just got eaten. She's so useless. Episode 7 was...
8,
Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live.
It works in episode 2 because Aqua was genuinely being stubborn and unhelpful, and Kazuma's reaction is reasonable. But God forbid Aqua just try to have a friendly chat with the guy without him looping it back around to yell at her for being worthless.
Worthless isn't the right word. You meant to say I'm priceless.
Yeah, whatever the case. In these early episodes, whenever Kazuma and Aqua are mean to each other, it's for a reason. Like one of them does or says something dumb or insults them by accident. In later episodes, Kazuma is just mean all the time for basically no reason other than the girl's natural quirks. I obviously like the early version of these two a little more. I know that earlier I said it's funny when they're mean, and it is. But that doesn't mean I want Kazuma to tear Aqua's throat out just for looking at him funny. This all leads us up to the great stealing scene of 2016. And just like the show as a whole, this is where Kazuma begins his hard drop-off in quality. There is absolutely nothing shown in the past 2.5 episodes that would even remotely suggest he would be capable of this. The exact opposite, in fact. When he meets Samus, he's shocked by how hot she is, but still turns her down regardless. Samus is very desperate and very sexual, but Kazuma doesn't take advantage of the situation in any way. Speaking of which, Kazuma constantly gives Samus shit about how freaky she is, but this act alone is objectively worse than anything she's ever done. For as incessant as Samus is with her gimmick, at least she keeps her kinks to herself. Around this time, Kazuma also starts to lose his politeness. At the end of episode 3, Aqua makes an attempt to genuinely compliment Kazuma, and he just cries and whines about it. Admittedly, his politeness isn't exactly a hard cutoff, as there are a few moments in later episodes where he's nice. But this does mark a point where him being unkind becomes very common. In as early as episode 4, there's multiple times where Kazuma is immediately mean to people without being provoked first. Like there's this scene where Aqua is being kind and sweet and Kazuma really lays into her for absolutely no reason. It's absolutely grating and one of my least favorite moments in the whole show. She cries and he doesn't even show the tiniest amount of remorse. But on the flip side of that, there's still the moment where he wants to go with Megumin to save Samus, which is really sweet. Again though, that's another thing this show forgets about. In my opinion, Kazuma finding the value in Megumin as a friend should have been his first indication that this life is worth living. But that doesn't actually happen until 3 episodes later, or debatably never. Episodes 4 through 6 like to flip-flop a lot on what side of Kazuma they want to show, and are overall very inconsistent on what they want him to be. Episode 5 of course has Kazuma having a conscience when Aqua gets traumatized. But 2 minutes later he says that he's never seen any of the girls be excellent, even though last episode was all about him seeing Megumin as a valuable member of the team. This show half-asses character arcs and then backtracks on them for no reason. Or how they sacrifice a fundamental part of a character just for a joke. Like Kazuma suddenly wanting to give up on the Devil King in episode 6. But episode 7 fumbled him the hardest in my opinion. In their attempt to make Kazuma at his lowest in order for his realization to be more impactful, they accidentally made by far the worst version of his character. He is so gosh damn hateful and bitter all the time, and most of the time for no reason. In the opening, Kazuma lashes out at Aqua about the debt, even though her flood is what saved everyone's lives. And even then, he's the one that told her to do it in the first place. I get that he's frustrated, but this is genuinely just an unfair thing for him to yell at Aqua for. Especially when there's no scene of him apologizing or making it up or anything. Like if this episode is meant to be Kazuma realizing that he loves his life and should treat his friends better, then why does he upon recovery immediately start bashing the person who saved him? Nothing about his character changes after this, which is why I named the episode Frigid Filler in the first place. Every time we hear one of his internal monologues, it's just so he can mention how much he hates his life. He says that if he doesn't kill enough snow sprites, he'll just kill some of the ones that Aqua caught as pets. And like, killing one snow sprite rewards you with 100,000 Eris, which is equivalent to like $600. So Aqua keeping them instead of killing them is stupid, but Kazuma doesn't even think about her feelings at all. Like, look how happy this is making her. When Kazuma dies, he goes from being super happy about his next life to pissing and crying about missing his friends. But with how much this episode showcases Kazuma's disdain for the girls, the latter emotion is very unfitting. But also, Kazuma was super excited about the fantasy world and also loved being praised as a hero last episode, so his extreme happiness to leave isn't very fitting either. He says that his entire time in the fantasy world sucked. He's so cynical here. He acts like there were literally no upsides whatsoever. Not the heroism, not even his friendship with Megumin. Is this man a sociopath? Episode 7 also has like 1 of 2 scenes where Kazuma and Megumin are actually portrayed as friends after episode 4. The one thing this episode did right was immediately undone by the whole stomping her skull in thing. That is still So insane to me. You know, I think I just talked myself into hating this episode way more. Like, none of its content is that egregious in a vacuum, but looking at the bigger picture, this episode is awful. Fortunately, once you hit rock bottom, the only way to go is up. And episode 8 sure is a whopping 1 centimeter higher. In all seriousness, episode 8 is a huge improvement for the character. Kazuma's way nicer with how he compliments Aqua, gets worried about her screams, and protects Megumin. And this might be the only episode outside of the first to end with Kazuma being happy. I kinda wanna say that Kazuma isn't so bad in episode 9 because at least he doesn't have any bad intentions. Once he realizes that he isn't dreaming, he tries to save the succubus instead of defending his actions at all. He's not exactly malicious in this episode, but it's just so hard to get over. You know. I really wish the last 3 episodes had a little more to say about Kazuma as a character. They all set themselves up to have him change, but never actually followed through with it. In a perfect world, these final episodes would focus on Kazuma and his relationship with each of the girls. Going back to my rewrites, we could have the Haunted House episode focus on his relationship with Megumin, the Succubus episode focus on his relationship with Samus, and then move episode 5 up to be the penultimate episode of the season that revolves around his relationship with Aqua. Maybe in episode 9 we could learn a bit more about Samus altogether and find out that she's not just a one-note sex addict after all. Please? In episode 10, he's okay, I guess. Not at his best or worst. Oh, also let me radically change subjects for a minute. I didn't mention it earlier for the sake of a dramatic ending, but the teleportation from the Yttrium in episode 10 ended up destroying the mansion of a lord. The magic was traced back to Kazuma and he gets sent to prison. My prediction for season 2 is that it opens with Kazuma in jail, but within 5 minutes he's already out. You all owe me $1 if I'm right. By the way, regarding that rant I had after episode 10, I just want to make it clear that I don't take this show that seriously. I care, obviously. I wouldn't be making this video if I didn't. But that episode didn't actually have me seething in anger as I may have let on. The reason I had a big angry rant back then is because big angry rants are fun. Maybe it's too late to say all that, but as they say, it's my channel and I can do whatever the hell I want. The fact that Kazuma canonically finds a child and a corpse to be more attractive than Aqua would be really funny if I was over the fact that Kazuma finds a child and a corpse attractive. In conclusion, Kazuma is a very troubled young man and should receive a harsh scolding from his parents. The thing about Kazuma's flanderization is that it's very slow and subtle. Watching episode 7, you don't truly realize how far gone he is until going back to the start. But boy does he change. Sure, a lot of this could be explained by Kazuma becoming more sick and tired of all the antics he's put through. But that doesn't make his downfall any less frustrating to watch. I like my wholesome Kazuma, okay? And yes, exaggerated characters are very funny, but it doesn't work when you exaggerate a previously totally normal character for long periods of time. I really want to like Kazuma for how good he was early on, but I just can't ignore his later actions. So due to him constantly switching between the best and worst character in the show, he gets put in D tier with 3 weeks detention. I'm looking at the rest of this tier list, I just found this one online, and there's way more characters on here than just the big 4. So why not? I'll give my brief opinion on the ones I know. Chris. Chris is kinda cool. I like her despite only having 2 total scenes in the entire season. It's a genuine shame that this moment is always gonna be this character's legacy. Her first appearance is also the show's first sexual assault. How heartwarming. I like her design, I like her mischievousness, she's low-key chill. B tier. John. There's at least one person out there that stopped watching the video out of annoyance of me calling characters by the wrong name. And they'll never know I'm calling them out. John as a character in the show is pretty bland. He shows up at the tail end of episode 5 just to get beat up and fuck off. But I'm still captivated by the concept. John being the stereotypical isekai hero to be rivals with Kazuma could be so fun. Like, come on guys, think about the comedic value here. I like his voice and design. They fit the character very well in my opinion. I also love his 2 stupid fucking sidekicks that never do anything. They're never even named in the show, they're so funny, I love it. Again, great concept, but atrocious execution. C tier maybe? Does that sound right? I don't know. Wiz. Wiz is weird. On one hand, she's in the running for the funniest character in the show. Her voice actress has a lot of great deliveries, and her thing with Aqua is great. But on the other hand, Wiz is such an industry plant of a character. Voice, design, sympathy bait, the way she's actually kinda overpowered. Everything about this character is like artificially engineered to get you to like her. Need more examples? I got 2 more. Now hold on, I'm not trying to say that giving a female character big boobs inherently makes them a porn bait character. At the end of the day, it's all about about intention. But given the show's track record, I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination to say that making her hot may have been their first priority. Look at the way they have her move here, bro. You do not gotta be doing all that.
You are boobs. Just boobs.
I mean, he said it, not me. Also, this is what she looked like in the manga. Yeah, I'm noticing a few differences. But with that said, I kinda love Wiz. She's really fucking funny and steals whatever scene she's in. Tell you what, I'm such a big fan that I might even buy the Wiz shoes. Oh look, I've been spelling her name wrong this entire time, fuck me. I still think the episodes 7 and 8 stuff is really dumb from a writing standpoint, but that really isn't the character's fault, so Wiz gets D. She also goes in C tier. I can't remember his actual name, but the Horseman gets an easy S tier. He's fucking badass in every single way. Look, voice, status, morals, aura. I don't even care that they retconned him to be Harvey Weinstein. He solos all these guys. Eris. Eris is on here? Fucking A? I don't know, she had like 4 seconds of screen time. You might as well ask me to rank the fish from episode 5. The fish from episode 5 gets A tier. And finally, we have... I don't remember who this is. F for fetal alcohol syndrome. Yup, we're doing this now. I don't care if it's out of place. After all the time I spent talking about these episodes, it's only fair that I rank them worst to best. On the screen here, you'll see the episode number, the rank it's received, and also the score out of 10 I've given it. Ready, set, go. I need this video to be over with. Episode 9, Succubus Sex Dungeon. Episode 3, Detour for Derailment. Episode 10, The Finale of a Lifetime. Episode 7, Frigid Filler. Episode 8, Dan Schneider's Haunted Mansion. Episode 6, a 22-minute long fight scene. Episode 5, Mr. Croc's Wild Ride. Episode 4, Pure Darkness. Episode 2, The Gang's All Here. And finally, Episode 1, The Gates to Hell. There you have it. Each episode of Konosuba's frivolous first season ranked and ordered. I feel like given everything I've said so far, none of these rankings should be very surprising. Except episode 4. Turns out that episode's not so bad if you cut out every frame with Samus in it. If you're a true Konosuba fan and actually watched the series before this video, leave your own rankings in the comments below. But remember, if it's any different than mine, then it doesn't matter. Motherfucker, I lost everything! Now, unfortunately for my poor computer's processing power, I still have a bit more to say about this season. I know, I also can't believe I've talked about it for this long, but everything before this has been so focused in, so small scale. Now, it's time to talk about Konosuba as a comprehensive season. Konosuba fails at what I believe was its initial purpose, bringing together these incompetent, discarded adventurers and turning them into real, capable heroes. These elements are all there, sure, but none of it's satisfyingly put together. Do they become friends? Yes. Do they become heroes? Yeah. Are either of these aspects handled with any care whatsoever? Not really. Here's the thing that annoys me the most about this show. More than the fan service, the pacing, or the mischaracterization, it's that Konosuba has all the puzzle pieces to make something really fantastic, but it just doesn't. If you've been watching this video and thinking of something along the lines of, you're expecting way too much, this is Konosuba, it's not exactly interested in deep characters. And I'd agree if it wasn't for the fact that the show clearly does sometimes. There are plenty of moments where the show expects you to treat these characters and their emotions seriously, like they're building up to some greater moment. But each time, these quote-unquote arcs never last more than half an episode. So it leaves the show on this weird middle ground where I want to take these characters' relationships and struggles seriously, but at the same time the show's pushing its characters away in service of comedy. I can't care about these characters because they're just jokes, but I can't laugh at these jokes because they're real characters. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm losing my mind. It almost makes me think that there's like one person in the writing team that actually wants to make something cool while everyone else just really wants to meet Chris Hansen. Which really sucks because the rare time when Konosuba does try this more serious take on the characters, I love it. I wish they do it more, but Me and Fuck Kingdom is a great substitute. It really does feel like the constant sexualization with characters like Samus served as a huge distraction for the writers. The first 2 episodes easily handle the characters the best, and not so coincidentally, these are also the 2 episodes with the least amount of porn. If you really want to see how much focus sexualization takes away from the characters, go watch the last 2 episodes of the season and then the first 2 and tell me if there's any differences. Not only does the sexualization prevent Konosuba from having a compelling story, but it's also just really fucking annoying. This entire show is so over-sexualized for no reason. There can't be a single damn scene without someone saying or doing something weird as hell. And like I said, the show flat out didn't start out like this. But as time went on, things just started getting out of hand. Pun not intended, pun not intended! I understand that this is just the anime grind and sex sells and all, but just because fan service is common across all anime doesn't mean it's a good excuse.
Yeah, I saw a couple other guys killing people and thought, what the hell, why not join in?
All I'm saying is that I watched this show because I want to see fun characters fight monsters. If I wanted to watch Samus get pegged by cabbages until her clothes are ripped off, I'd go to rule34.com. But I don't! Sex jokes are just way funnier in general when they're not constantly being shoved down your throat. Episode 1 had the I'll tap all day joke, and episode 2 had the Megumin slime bit. And do my eyes deceive me? Konosuba sex jokes that are actually funny? Oh god, I better prepare for the rapture.
Oh my gosh, both those girls are covered in icky goo! What kind of sick game was that pervert playing with them?
The reason why this joke actually made me laugh is because it was unexpected. Up to this point, there had been very little mention of anything sexual, so to suddenly have this thrown at you is genuinely really funny. This is why episode 10's Magic Suck was so good, I just didn't expect a fake out like that. But when you get to a point where 95% of all jokes in the show are Fellas, I am so horny! You get used to it, they stop catching you off guard, they stop being funny. In my examples of good jokes, no one was actually doing anything sexual, both just being misunderstandings, which avoids the problem of a character becoming unlikable for doing some weird shit. Gotta say, it's hard to root for Kazuma after his 5th sexual assault charge. And this all culminates into, you know, the deplorables. It's annoying because Konosuba is perfectly capable of being funny when it doesn't use sex as a crutch. Some of the best jokes in the show just come down to a funny delivery. All the voice actors are amazing at their job. I really couldn't pick a favorite because even the characters I don't like have the perfect voice with perfect execution. Overall, is the show funny? Yeah? Overused jokes aside, each episode has a handful of little quips that make me laugh fairly often. There's not a whole lot of super notable ones I could think of off the top of my head, but there's just a cute little line here or there that's surprisingly really funny. Now, do I think it's as uproariously funny as some of the people here on YouTube? No. But it's funnier than Pokemon, if that means anything. Speaking of YouTube, I should look up more reviews on Konosuba to see more about the general consensus. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of positive reviews. Any negatives at all? Please? I may have made a lot of enemies today. Oh, no, guys, I might have actually fucked up. People love this show. I mean, I know I talked about it in the intro, but I was just kind of making shit up. This show is so beloved that if I just look up Konosuba is bad, there's like 2 videos and then it immediately goes back to positive reviews. That's legitimately kind of crazy to me. That this show of all things has received such unanimous acclaim. And these reviews aren't just, yeah, it's pretty good. These are long, extensive arguments of why Konosuba is amazing. I feel like I gotta check a few of these out now. Konosuba is deeper than you think. Yeah, about as deep as I am in Megumin. What?! Which is to say not much, cause, you know, the whole kid thing and... Fuck it, man, this never happened. I watched the first few minutes of this video, and most of it is Mr. Konosuba over here discussing why the show is great and unique compared to other isekais. And you know what? Maybe Konosuba is the greatest isekai of all time. But I wouldn't know. Isekai fans might be rejoicing over this breath of fresh air in the subgenre. Meanwhile, I see it as the quality it really is because I'm not comparing trash to radioactive waste like these other guys are. Also, if this is the best isekai, then I'm terrified of what else is out there. Any amount of subversion of the subgenre is completely lost on me because, at least from what I've seen, Konosuba is just old tropes but exaggerated more. The women are stupid and assholes. The characters don't actually like each other. And even then, anything else is just such a base level advancement that calling it a subversion at all is dishonest at best. The main character actually doesn't get with any of the girls? Wow, they didn't just break new ground, they fucking demolished it. Like, it doesn't matter to me how much of a subversion this is to the usual isekai tropes, because I don't think that the product in a vacuum is quality, and I shouldn't have to have outside information about the greater anime subconscious to enjoy a show. I can't believe I'm saying this, but let's talk about Scary Movie again. A while back, me and my friend decided to watch Scary Movie, which, if you don't know, is a movie that parodies all kinds of horror movies, most notably Scream. For horror fans such as myself, I loved the movie because I understood all the references and stuff it was making fun of. But my friend hadn't watched Scream or any of the other movies it was parodying, and thus he had a much less enjoyable viewing experience. Scary Movie is kind of a different situation than Konosuba, but you get the idea, right? If the subversion of overused tropes is the only thing that makes Konosuba good, then sorry, but maybe it just isn't good at all. To be fair, I didn't watch much more than the intro of that video, for the sole reason that I'm too lazy to watch Season 2, and if this video does well, I'm gonna want to review it unspoiled. So maybe later on, the guy dives really deep and unmasks the true beauty of Season 1, but I'm not risking it quite yet. I know it might make some people mad that I'm unwilling to hear more about what others have to say, and maybe that's fair. But does it really matter what anyone else thinks? The whole point of this video was to share my opinion on the show, and that's enough for me. I'm not really trying to prove anything, I'm not trying to change your mind. I just wanted to talk about a dumb anime I thought was really interesting. In all honesty, I am a little scared of how people might react to this video if it ends up reaching the greater anime audience. I figure people are gonna tear me apart or call me an idiot for just not getting Konosuba. Like I am a bad person because I made some jokes at the show's expense. Am I not allowed to share my thoughts and feelings? Do I really deserve hate for making this video? No, but this guy does. You sick f***, that image is edited. You're a goddamn monster. On the bright side, there are a few aspects of Konosuba that I absolutely adore. I already talked about the voice acting, but the music in this show is beautiful. Konosuba is like the Mario Kart 8 of anime music. I love all the different instrumentals they use, how unique each track is. I especially love the electric guitar they use in the intro, which as a whole is spectacular. And I'll list some of my favorite tracks now. Reincarnation into Another World, Puzzle, Give Blessings to Us on the Road, Party Member Recruitment, The One Who Controls Explosion Magic, I could go on. Some of these even feel weirdly nostalgic. Like take Victory of the Wonders of Nature for example. I'm gonna listen to this in 5 years and just start weeping. And while I've heard that the show's animation is objectively pretty bad, I always kinda liked it. I'm not gonna act like there's no instances of bad animations or characters being off model, but it's kinda charming to me, I really don't mind it. Obviously except for episode 9, it looks so bad. Now let me stop you right there. I will absolutely not be turning this channel into an anime haven. I've learned from my mistakes. In fact, if I ever make a video about another anime, I want you to boycott. Okay, next up to talk about is... Holy shit. That's it. That was the last thing to talk about. We can finally end this video now.
That's class!
And that's that. I've officially run out of things to say about Season 1 of Konosuba. Like I said, if this video ends up doing well, I'm not at all against checking out future seasons. In fact, I'm more than willing to milk this series dry until there's nothing left to talk about. For any Konosuba fans watching, without giving any spoilers for future seasons or movies, does it ever get any better? Look, Konosuba isn't a great show. It messes up quite a lot, and at the end of the day, it only serves the purpose of objectifying women. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy some aspects of the show, but there's far more negatives than there are positives. But hey, if you like Konosuba for what it is, then I respect it and wish I could be a sick fuck just like you. Unfortunately though, I just can't ignore how much it fumbled almost every good thing it had going for it. It's weird, it's obnoxious, it's funny, but it's stubborn. If Konosuba truly is the best anime ever, then it's the worst best anime I've ever seen. Which is yet another win for America, baby! Woo!